Good morning, Sissy. Hello.
Kumaran sir, good morning.
Sissy volume കുറവാണ്. മൈക്കിന് അടുത്തേക്ക് വരൂ.
Okay sir, കേൾക്കാമോ?
Good morning, Kumaran sir. With this.
Okay. കേൾക്കാം. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everybody.
Sanju. Good morning, sir. Sanju.
Morning, sir. Kumaran sir, everyone.
ഇപ്പൊ പറയണ കേൾക്കും. എസിന്റെ ഇത് ഓണാക്കിട്ട് എസിന്റെ ഓഡിയോ ഇതിലേ പോകും, അവരുടെ ഓഡിയോ ഇതിലേ വരും. ഇല്ല
സർ, നമുക്ക് പ്രോഗ്രാം തുടങ്ങാം.
Kumaran sir, program start ചെയ്യാവുന്ന ചോദിക്കുന്നത്.
ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട മന്ത്രി
സർ, മിനിസ്റ്റർ ഓഫീസിൽ നിന്ന് വിളിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നേ. അപ്പോ ഇപ്പോ ഒരു എന്താണ് പട്ടികജാതി അവരുടെ മീറ്റിംഗ് വന്നതുകൊണ്ട് മിനിസ്റ്റർ റെക്കോർഡഡ് വീഡിയോ മെസ്സേജ് അയച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. നമുക്ക് അത് പ്ലേ ചെയ്യാം. Okay, sir.
Please.
So we'll start, sir.
Hello, hope I'm audible. Hope everyone is present.
Yes.
Honorable dignitaries, distinguished guests, and most respected faculty members and participants. Wonderful morning, everyone. This is indeed a precious moment for me to thank for what we are today, what we all are today, and keep ourselves healthy and energized the days to come. I'm much delighted to offer a hearty welcome to everyone over here on behalf of Government Law College, Kozhikode. Myself, Devraj, a student of final year of this institution, along with Sugandha, who is also a final year student, will be the MCs of today's ceremony. First of all, let me take a minute to present before you an overview of what we intend to effectuate through this webinar. As we all know, Indian judicial system has drastically faced a setback during this pandemic, like any other strata of the economy. In spite of the efforts towards the implementation of e-filing and other online procedures, it has not helped much in solving the mounds of unsettled cases. Now, let's see what of the role of our institution in this.
Government Law College, Kozhikode, in its mission to mark its excellence in the legal field, in its journey through the progressive graph, aimed at being one of the best institutions in India, intends to serve the judiciary to combat the legal mishap in this pandemic era. As the need of the hour, this institution is rightly determined to present before you a webinar on the subject, Justice, Dispensation and Legal Profession during the Pandemic, a Techno Legal Perspective.
With everyone's permission, let's start the proceedings. To begin this auspicious occasion, may I invite of Government Law College, Kozhikode, Shri Sajjikumar. He has always been a man of distinct vision, a source of support and inspiration to every student of this institution. The dynamic atmosphere he creates inside the campus accelerates the journey towards our dreams. Sir, I humbly welcome you to deliver a welcome speech.
Thank you, dear Devraj, for your nice words and introduction. the top, I will directly welcome everyone. Honorable Chief Guest of the day, Shri A.K. Balan sir, the Honorable Minister of Law, respected Shri C.V. Kumaran sir, our Principal, distinguished speakers of the day, Shri Renjith Marar, Attorney, and Shri Sushanth, Sai Sushanth, the CEO of Sushanth Information Technology Associates, teaching and non-teaching staff, and all my dear friends. Good morning and welcome to today's webinar on dispensation of justice and legal profession during pandemic, techno legal perspectives. Thank you for being here today. I really feel privileged, honored, and proud to be here to deliver the welcome address. I'm privileged and honored because I got the precious opportunity to welcome the chief guest of the day, Shri A.K. Balan sir, who himself is a family member, an alumnus of this esteemed institution, who always insists to do something to elevate this institution to one among the top law institutions and to make Malabar the hub of legal education, or else the capital of legal education and research in Kerala. And inspired by him, we, the GLCK family, has launched Mission 2020 with 20 noble objectives to make the dream come true and to elevate our institution on among the top 20, not only in India, worldwide. That's our mission. And in this regard, I acknowledge the contributions of Dr. V.R. Jayadevan sir, is the formal principal of this institution and now the principal of Trishur Law College. I'm really proud because I got an opportunity to be a part of that mission. On behalf of this Career and Counselling Cell, Government Law College, Calicut, and the members of faculty in charge, Shri Anis P.K. and Srimati C.C. Joseph, I welcome you all to this unique webinar. Firstly, I would like to welcome Shri A.K. Balan sir, who has consented to inaugurate the webinar and deliver the inaugural address. Whenever we had personal or official talks with him, about, and whenever any talk comes with regard to our college, I had noticed his sparkling eyes and incessant words, which reveal his attachment to this institution and to what extent this institution has influenced him. The institution, the infrastructure, his colleagues, students, as well as the teachers and principal who had read the way, then, and how this institution has molded him. The rise of a law student to the rise of a law minister. He is definitely a role model to all of us. Respected sir, I wholeheartedly welcome you to inaugurate this webinar and deliver the inaugural address. Next, I would like to welcome our beloved principal, Shri C.V. Kumaran sir, a great academician and a visionary who is striving hard for ensuring academic excellence and who is about to preside our session and delivering the presidential address. Next, I would like to welcome all the distinguished speakers of the day. Firstly, Advocate Renjith Marar, attorney of Supreme Court as well as High Court, a terrific lawyer like the Marar that we have witnessed in the famous Malayalam movie Narasimham. That person, I welcome you, a friend of mine as well. Then Shri Sai Sushanth, the CEO of Sushanth Information Technology Law Associates. Welcome you both to this session. Next, we are having three eminent personalities to have the first one is R.K. Bijit sir, the faculty law dean and our senior professor in our institution. Then Shri Faisal sir, the vice president of our PTA. Then Shri Ahmed Nabil, the chairman of our college union. Next, and I welcome all the participants also. And I ensure that this seminar will be profitable and the next few hours will be enjoyable and fruitful for everyone. And I wish the webinar a grand success. Before we begin this seminar, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to my colleagues, all the teachers and non-teaching staff and students of this college, especially with Anjana, Manu, Dominic, Devaraj, Sugandha P. for their constant support and endeavors. I once again welcome all the participants, my beloved teachers, senior professors from the length and breadth of India and abroad. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Let us now invite a dignified personality who is known among all of us for his wisdom and knowledge, our Honorable Principal, Professor C.V. Kumaran, sir, for the presidential address. Welcome, sir.
The Honorable Minister for Education, Shri A.K. Balan, the Speaker of the program, Shri Renjith Marar, Advocate Sai Sushanth, of the College Union, of the college, the Dean of the Faculty of Law, other speakers, especially the Vice President of the Association of the College, my colleagues, other staff, and my dear students. It is a rare occasion. Actually, organized by the Career and Counselling Cell of the college to provide knowledge and shared experience with the legal luminaries in the field as to the working of the legal profession in times of the pandemic. That the COVID-19 poses many great challenges to our entire nation. As to different areas like health and conduct, and it has seriously affected the economic activities. And we have been compelled to devise new strategies and responses to cope up with the challenges. We know that the great and formidable challenge posed by the COVID-19 is regarding the health fields. Apart from the general health hazards posed by everyone, the legal profession also faces certain specific challenges in terms of the players involved in and related parties and witnesses, advocates, and associated service personnel like advocates, clerks, police, prison authorities, paralegal professionals, judges, court officials, other officials, law reporters, and other services related to the forensic profession are all under threat and health hazards due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And it also regulations and conduct problem for which we have devised a technique of social distancing. And in the matter of economic relations, and especially in related to legal profession, advocates and associated service personnel have been deprived of and have recorded great loss in terms of income. And this is especially true of junior advocates. I am sure that all of you will remember a recent order of the Supreme Court in which the Supreme Court issued a directive to the Bar Council of India to ponder over the possibility of extending financial aid assistance to young and junior lawyers. And it also poses certain problems related to the working of the courts, the practices which were familiar to us, and we have been able to devise a method of social distancing within the court so that advocates or persons entering into the court hall has been reduced, and there has been a kind of streamlining of certain court proceedings, and new technological innovations like video conferencing, arguing cases before the courts have been introduced. And in the administrative sector, the government has responded by reduction of charge sheeting and filing of cases. And the courts have dispensed with the physical appearance of parties and advocates. And in the matter of admission and bail application, courts have resorted to introducing moduling procedure and has introduced certain technological means and software for the effective working of the courts. So far as the law of the junior advocates are concerned, Bar Association, especially the High Court Bar Association, introduced some kind of financial assistance with the help of senior lawyers for the junior advocates. These are the wider areas which have been influenced by or responses devised by the legal profession in the present scenario. And I am sure that we will be able to hear on these things from Advocate Renjith Marar, as well as from Sai Sushanth. And I invite the Hon'ble Minister of Law to deliver his inaugural address.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful words. Now, I'm profusely elated to take the opportunity to introduce our chief guest, Most Honorable Minister of Law, Parliamentary Affairs, Welfare of Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes, and Backward Classes and Culture, Shri A.K. Balan. There is no better person to flag off this ceremony. And it's a matter of immense pride for me to let you all know that he is an alumnus of our institution. Honorable Minister was really happy to be live with us but due to his unavoidable official engagements, he has blessed us with a detailed recorded inaugural address out of his love and sense of self-belongingness towards his beloved institution. Let's have a glance at the minister's message.
ഈ സെമിനാറിൻ്റെ പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട അധ്യക്ഷൻ കോളേജ് പ്രിൻസിപ്പാൾ ശ്രീ CV കുമാരൻ, യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റി ഡീൻ ശ്രീ RK ബിജു, PTA പ്രസിഡന്റ് ശ്രീ ഫൈസൽ, കോളേജ് യൂണിയൻ ചെയർമാൻ ശ്രീ അഹമ്മദ് നബീൽ, ആമുഖ പ്രഭാഷണം നടത്തുന്ന അഡ്വക്കേറ്റ് രഞ്ജിത്ത് മാരാർ, മുഖ്യപ്രഭാഷണം നടത്തുന്ന അഡ്വക്കേറ്റ് സായി സുശാന്ത്, കോളേജ് അധ്യാപകരായ ശ്രീ NL സജികുമാർ, ശ്രീമതി CC ജോസഫ്, വിദ്യാർത്ഥികളെ, വളരെ സന്തോഷത്തോടെയും ഒപ്പം അഭിമാനബോധത്തോടെയുമാണ് ഞാൻ ഈ വെബിനാറിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കുന്നത്. കാരണം എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിലെ ഒരു നിർണായക ഘട്ടത്തിലാണ് ഞാൻ കോഴിക്കോട് ലോ കോളേജ് വിദ്യാർത്ഥിയായി ചേരുന്നത്. പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് അടിയന്തരാവസ്ഥ കാലഘട്ടം. ഒട്ടേറെ എൻ്റെ പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട വിദ്യാർത്ഥികളെ, സഹപാഠികളെ ഞാനിപ്പോൾ ഓർക്കുകയാണ്. എല്ലാവരുടെയും പേര് ഞാനിവിടെ എടുത്തു പറയാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നില്ല. ഇന്ന് മേഘാലയ ഗവർണറായ ശ്രീധരൻ പിള്ള എൻ്റെ സഹപാഠിയും എൻ്റെ അടുത്തിരുന്ന് പഠിച്ച സുഹൃത്തുമായിരുന്നു. ഞങ്ങൾ രണ്ടുപേരും രണ്ട് വിദ്യാർത്ഥി പ്രസ്ഥാനത്തിൻ്റെ നേതാക്കൾ എന്നുള്ള നിലയിൽ പോലീസിൻ്റെ കണ്ണു വെട്ടിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് അന്ന് കോഴിക്കോട് ജില്ലയിലും പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് മലബാർ പ്രദേശത്തും നടത്തിയിട്ടുള്ള പ്രവർത്തനം ഒരുമിച്ച് നടത്തിയ ഒരു പ്രവർത്തനമായിരുന്നു. ഞാൻ ഇന്നും അത് ഓർക്കുകയാണ്. യഥാർത്ഥത്തിൽ ഒരു ഗൃഹാതുരത്വം കൊണ്ട് എനിക്ക് ഈ സെമിനാറിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കാൻ മാനസികമായി വലിയ സന്തോഷമാണുള്ളത്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് കോഴിക്കോട് ലോ കോളേജ് എൻ്റെ കൂടി കലാലയമാണ് എന്ന് പറയാൻ ഞാൻ നിർബന്ധിക്കപ്പെടുന്നത്. സംസ്ഥാന മന്ത്രിയായ ഞാൻ നിയമത്തിൻ്റെ ബാലപാഠങ്ങൾ പഠിച്ചത് ഈ കലാലയത്തിൽ നിന്നാണ്. അഭിഭാഷകനായും പൊതുപ്രവർത്തകനായും ഭരണാധികാരിയായും ഒക്കെയുള്ള എൻ്റെ ജീവിത വഴിയിൽ ലോ കോളേജ് എനിക്ക് നൽകിയിട്ടുള്ള കരുത്ത്, ആത്മവിശ്വാസം എല്ലാം വളരെ വിലപ്പെട്ടതാണ്. ആ അഭിമാനബോധത്തോടെയാണ് ഇന്ന് ഈ കോളേജ് സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള ദേശീയ വെബിനാറിൽ ഉദ്ഘാടകനായി ഞാൻ പങ്കെടുക്കുന്നത്. ഇത് ഒരവസരം നൽകിയ ഇതിൻ്റെ സാരഥികൾക്ക് ഹൃദയപൂർവ്വം ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ നന്ദി രേഖപ്പെടുത്തുകയാണ്. ഇന്ന് നാം കടന്നു പോകുന്ന ജീവിത സാഹചര്യം 6 മാസം മുമ്പ് സ്വപ്നത്തിൽ പോലും നമുക്ക് ചിന്തിക്കാൻ കഴിയുമായിരുന്നില്ല. കലാലയങ്ങൾ തുറക്കാത്ത ഒരു അധ്യയന വർഷത്തെക്കുറിച്ചോ, കുടുംബാംഗങ്ങളെ മുഴുവൻ വീടുകളിൽ തളച്ചിടുന്ന ഒരു ക്വാറന്റൈനെ കുറിച്ചോ, ദൈനംദിന തൊഴിലുകളിൽ ഏർപ്പെടാൻ കഴിയാത്തതിനെക്കുറിച്ചോ, മാസ്ക് ധരിച്ചും സാനിറ്റൈസർ കരുതിയും സഞ്ചരിക്കുന്നതിനെക്കുറിച്ചോ ഒരു 6 മാസം മുമ്പേ നമുക്ക് ചിന്തിക്കാനേ കഴിഞ്ഞിരുന്നില്ല. ഇന്ന് നാം അതിജീവനത്തിൻ്റെ മാർഗങ്ങൾ കണ്ടെത്തിയും ഇതിനോട് പൊരുത്തപ്പെട്ടും ജീവിക്കാൻ നിർബന്ധിക്കപ്പെടുകയാണ്. ഒരു സംശയവുമില്ല, ആത്മവിശ്വാസം എനിക്കുണ്ട്. ഇന്നല്ലെങ്കിൽ നാളെ ഈ പ്രതിസന്ധിയെ മുറിച്ചു കടക്കാൻ നമുക്ക് സാധിക്കും. നമ്മുടെ ജുഡീഷ്യൽ സംവിധാനത്തെ എങ്ങനെ ഈ പ്രതിസന്ധി ഘട്ടത്തിൽ ഉപയോഗപ്പെടുത്താം എന്ന് പരിശോധിക്കുന്ന ഈ വെബിനാർ എന്തുകൊണ്ട് ശ്രദ്ധേയമാണ്. ജസ്റ്റിസ്, ഡിസ്പെൻസേഷൻ ആൻഡ് ലീഗൽ പ്രൊഫഷൻ ഡ്യൂറിംഗ് പാൻഡമിക്, എ ടെക്നോ ലീഗൽ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ് എന്നതാണ് ഈ വെബിനാർ ചർച്ച ചെയ്യപ്പെടുന്ന വിഷയം. ഇന്ന് ലോകം മുഴുവൻ നമ്മുടെ വിരൽത്തുമ്പിലാണ്. ഒറ്റ ക്ലിക്കിൽ ഏത് സേവനവും ലഭിക്കും വിധം ഇൻ്റർനെറ്റും ടാബും ഫോണും കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറും എല്ലാം നമ്മുടെ ജീവിതത്തിൻ്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ടുണ്ട്. എന്നാൽ കോടതി, വ്യവഹാര, ജുഡീഷ്യൽ സേവന മേഖലകളിൽ ഈ സാങ്കേതിക വിദ്യ കാര്യമായി ഉപയോഗപ്പെടുത്തിയിട്ടില്ല എന്നാണ് തോന്നുന്നത്. ജഡ്ജിയും അഭിഭാഷകനും വാദിയും പ്രതിയും സാക്ഷിയും വിസ്താരവും വിധിപറച്ചിലുമെല്ലാം ഒത്തുകൂടുന്നതാണ് കോടതി എന്നതാണ് നമ്മുടെ പാരമ്പര്യ സങ്കല്പം. എന്നാൽ ജഡ്ജി മുതൽ തടവുകാരൻ വരെ കോവിഡിൻ്റെ പിടിയിൽ നിന്നും വിമുക്തരല്ല എന്ന യാഥാർത്ഥ്യം കോടതി നടപടികളെപ്പറ്റി മാറ്റി ചിന്തിപ്പിക്കാൻ നമ്മെ നിർബന്ധിക്കപ്പെടുകയാണ്. വൈകി ലഭിക്കുന്ന നീതി നിഷേധത്തിന് തുല്യമാണ് എന്നാണ് പറയാറുള്ളത്. കേസുകൾ തീർപ്പാക്കുന്നതിൽ നേരിടുന്ന കാലതാമസം നീതിന്യായ വ്യവസ്ഥ നേരിടുന്ന പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട വെല്ലുവിളിയാണ്. ഇപ്പോൾ നാം അഭിമുഖീകരിക്കുന്ന കോവിഡ് പ്രതിസന്ധി കൂടി വന്നതോടെ അതിൻ്റെ വ്യാപ്തി വർദ്ധിക്കുകയാണ്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ കോടതി വ്യവഹാരങ്ങളുടെ പരമ്പരാഗത രീതികൾക്ക് പകരം അത്യന്താധുനിക സാങ്കേതിക വിദ്യകൾ ഉപയോഗപ്പെടുത്താൻ നിർബന്ധിക്കപ്പെടുകയാണ്. വീഡിയോ കോൺഫറൻസ് വഴിയുള്ള കേസ് ഫയലിംഗ്, വാദം കേൾക്കൽ, വിധി പറയൽ എന്നിവയെല്ലാം സജീവമാക്കേണ്ടതുണ്ട്. സമൻസുകളും വാറണ്ടുകളും വാട്സപ്പിലോ മറ്റ് ഓൺലൈൻ സംവിധാനം വഴിയോ അയക്കാമെന്ന് ഒരു കോടതി വിധി തന്നെ അടുത്ത കാലത്തുണ്ടായി. നിയമപഠനം പൂർത്തിയാക്കി അഭിഭാഷകരാകുന്നവരുടെ എൻറോൾമെൻറ്റ് ഈ വർഷം നടന്നതും ഓൺലൈൻ വഴിയായിരുന്നു. വിദേശ രാജ്യങ്ങളിൽ കേസുകൾ കെട്ടിക്കിടക്കുന്നത് ഒഴിവാക്കാൻ ബ്ലോക്ക് ചെയിൻ, നിർമ്മിത ബുദ്ധി മുതലായ സാങ്കേതിക വിദ്യകൾ ഇപ്പോൾ തന്നെ പ്രയോജനപ്പെടുത്തുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇക്കാര്യത്തിൽ നമുക്ക് എന്തെല്ലാം ചെയ്യാൻ കഴിയുമെന്ന് ഈ വെബിനാർ ചർച്ച ചെയ്യും എന്ന് ഞാൻ കരുതുന്നു. ഇന്ത്യൻ ജനാധിപത്യ വ്യവസ്ഥയും ഭരണഘടനാ മൂല്യങ്ങളും പഴയതുപോലെ തുടരുമോ എന്ന ആശങ്ക വർദ്ധിച്ചു വരുന്നൊരു കാലഘട്ടമാണിത്. ഇതിനു മുമ്പ് 1975 നേരത്തെ ഞാൻ സൂചിപ്പിച്ചതുപോലെ അടിയന്തരാവസ്ഥ പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ച കാലഘട്ടത്തിൽ സമാനമായ ഒരു സ്ഥിതി രാഷ്ട്രീയ രംഗത്ത് രൂപപ്പെട്ടിരുന്നു. എല്ലാ പൗരാവകാശങ്ങളും ജനാധിപത്യ അവകാശങ്ങളും അന്ന് ധ്വംസിക്കപ്പെട്ടു. ഭരണഘടനയിലെ തന്നെ ചില വ്യവസ്ഥകൾ ദുരുപയോഗം ചെയ്താണ് അന്നത്തെ വെല്ലുവിളി ഉണ്ടായത്. വൻ ജനകീയ പ്രതിരോധവും മുന്നേറ്റവും ഉണ്ടായതിൻ്റെ പശ്ചാത്തലത്തിലാണ് അന്നത്തെ ഏകാധിപത്യ ഭരണം അവസാനിപ്പിക്കാൻ നമുക്ക് കഴിഞ്ഞത്. അതോടുകൂടിയാണ് രാജ്യത്തെ ഭരണഘടന നേരിടുന്ന വെല്ലുവിളികളെ സംബന്ധിച്ചും ഭരണഘടന പ്രദാനം ചെയ്യുന്ന ജനാധിപത്യ മൗലിക അവകാശങ്ങൾ സംരക്ഷിക്കേണ്ടതിൻ്റെ ആവശ്യകതയെക്കുറിച്ചും ഗൗരവതരമായ ചർച്ചകൾ ഉയർന്നു വന്നത്. സമാനമല്ല രാജ്യത്തെ ഇന്നത്തെ രാഷ്ട്രീയ സാഹചര്യമെങ്കിലും രാജ്യത്തെ ഭരണഘടനാ സ്ഥാപനങ്ങളെ കൈപ്പിടിയിൽ ഒതുക്കാൻ കേന്ദ്രഭരണം നടത്തുന്ന ശ്രമങ്ങളെക്കുറിച്ച് ഗൗരവതരമായ ചർച്ച രാജ്യത്ത് നടക്കുകയാണ്. ഇന്ത്യ തിരഞ്ഞെടുക്കപ്പെട്ട ഏകാധിപത്യത്തിലേക്ക് നീങ്ങുന്നു എന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞ ദിവസം പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ചത് ഡൽഹി ഹൈക്കോടതിയുടെ മുൻ ചീഫ് ജസ്റ്റിസ് AP ഷാ ആണ്. ജനാധിപത്യ രാഷ്ട്രങ്ങൾ എങ്ങനെ മരിക്കുന്നു എന്ന് പണ്ഡിതർ ചൂണ്ടിക്കാട്ടിയ വഴിയിലൂടെയാണ് രാജ്യം സഞ്ചരിക്കുന്നത് എന്നും കേന്ദ്ര എക്സിക്യൂട്ടീവ് പരമാധികാരികളാവുകയും ഇതര സംവിധാനങ്ങളെ ദുർബലപ്പെടുത്തുകയാണ് എന്നും അദ്ദേഹം പറയുന്നു. ജനങ്ങളിൽ പ്രതീക്ഷ അർപ്പിക്കുന്ന ജുഡീഷ്യറിയുടെ നിലപാട് പോലും നിരാശാജനകമാണ്. ഭരണഘടന സാധുത പോലും ചോദ്യം ചെയ്യപ്പെടുന്ന തരത്തിൽ നിരവധി കരിനിയമങ്ങൾ നിർമ്മിച്ച് ജനങ്ങളെ അടിച്ചമർത്തുകയാണ്. നീതി തേടിയെത്തുമ്പോൾ ഉന്നത നീതിന്യായ പീഠം പോലും ദുരൂഹമായി അവ നീട്ടിക്കൊണ്ടുപോവുകയോ അവഗണിക്കപ്പെടുകയോ ചെയ്യുകയാണ് എന്ന ആശങ്കയും ഉണ്ടാകുന്നുണ്ട്. നമ്മുടെ രാജ്യത്തിൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും ഗുരുതരമായ സ്ഥിതിവിശേഷത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് ഒരു ന്യായാധിപൻ തന്നെ നടത്തിയ നിരീക്ഷണമാണ് ഞാനിവിടെ സൂചിപ്പിച്ചത്. നിയമഭാഷയില്ലാത്ത അരാജകത്വത്തിലേക്ക് നീങ്ങുന്ന ഒരു രാഷ്ട്രമായല്ല ഭരണഘടന നമ്മുടെ രാജ്യത്തെ വിഭാവനം ചെയ്തത്. ലോകത്തെ ഏത് വികസിത ജനാധിപത്യ ഭരണ സംവിധാനത്തെ പോലെയും ഔന്നത്യമുള്ളതും സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യബോധവും വ്യക്തിഗത അവകാശങ്ങൾക്ക് പരിരക്ഷയും നൽകുന്ന ഒന്നാണ് നമ്മുടെ ഭരണഘടന. അത് നേരിടുന്ന വെല്ലുവിളി നമ്മുടെ നിയമ വിദ്യാർത്ഥികളും അഭിഭാഷകരും സമൂഹവും ഗൗരവത്തോടെ ചർച്ച ചെയ്യണം. ഈ അവസരം അതിനുപയോഗിക്കണമെന്ന് ഞാൻ അഭ്യർത്ഥിക്കുകയാണ്. പൗരസ്വാതന്ത്ര്യവും ഭരണഘടനാ സ്ഥാപനങ്ങളുടെ സ്വതന്ത്ര നിലനിൽപ്പും ചോദ്യം ചെയ്യപ്പെടുമ്പോഴെല്ലാം ഉൽപ്പതിഷ്ണുക്കളായ ന്യായാധിപന്മാരും നിയമജ്ഞരും അഭിഭാഷകരും ജനങ്ങളോടൊപ്പം രംഗത്ത് വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതാണിപ്പോൾ നാം കാണുന്നത്. നിയമവിദ്യാർത്ഥികളെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് പ്രതികൂലമായൊരു തീരുമാനം ബാർ കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് ഇന്ത്യ കൈക്കൊള്ളുകയുണ്ടായി. സംസ്ഥാനത്തെ 4 സർക്കാർ ലോ കോളേജുകളിലായി 240 LLB സീറ്റുകൾ വെട്ടിക്കുറച്ചു. ഗുരുതരമായ ഈ സ്ഥിതിവിശേഷം പരിഹരിക്കാൻ സംസ്ഥാന സർക്കാർ അടിയന്തരമായി ഇടപെടുകയും അഡീഷണൽ ബാച്ചുകൾ അനുവദിച്ച് ഈ കുറവുകൾ പരിഹരിക്കാനും ഇപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് സാധിച്ചു. അതിലും ഇടപെട്ട ഒരു എളിയ പ്രവർത്തകനാണ് ഈ ഉദ്ഘാടനത്തിന് നിങ്ങൾ ക്ഷണിച്ചത് എന്നുള്ളത് കൊണ്ട് ഞാനിവിടെ സൂചിപ്പിക്കുന്നു എന്ന് മാത്രം. കോഴിക്കോട് ലോ കോളേജ് കരിയർ ആൻഡ് കൗൺസിലിംഗ് സെൽ സംഘടിപ്പിച്ച ഈ വെബിനാർ വളരെ സന്തോഷത്തോടെ ഉദ്ഘാടനം ചെയ്തതായി അറിയിക്കുന്നു. എല്ലാവർക്കും ഹൃദ്യമായ ഓണാശംസകൾ നേരുന്നു.
We are extremely grateful to you for gracing this occasion as the chief guest, and we are honored by your blessing. Thank you, sir. Again, we are really blessed with the presence of our dear Biju sir, the Dean Faculty of Law of Calicut University, a fountainhead of illuminating ideas, an idol of knowledge and experience. Sir, you have made all of us proud with your distinguished works in numerous capacities. I wholeheartedly welcome you for the felicitation address.
താങ്ക് യു സുന്ദർ. ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട അധ്യക്ഷൻ പ്രിൻസിപ്പൽ ശ്രീ കുമാരൻ സാർ, ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട നിയമവകുപ്പ് മന്ത്രി ശ്രീ എ.കെ. ബാലൻ സാർ, ഈ പങ്കെടുക്കുന്ന വിശിഷ്ട വ്യക്തിത്വങ്ങൾ, എൻ്റെ പ്രിയമുള്ള സഹപ്രവർത്തകരെ, വിദ്യാർത്ഥികൾ, വളരെ കാലിക പ്രസക്തിയുള്ള ഒരു വിഷയം ചർച്ച ചെയ്യാൻ തീരുമാനിച്ചതിനും CCCയുടെ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾ ഈ ലോക്ക്ഡൗൺ കാലത്തും സാധ്യമായ രൂപത്തിൽ എല്ലാവിധത്തിലുള്ള ആത്മാർത്ഥതയോടും കൂടി വിപുലമായ രൂപത്തിൽ തന്നെ നടപ്പാക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുന്നതിനും CCCയുടെ ഭാരവാഹികളെ, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് സിസ് ടീച്ചറെ അഭിനന്ദിക്കുകയാണ്. COVID-19 നമ്മളുടെ ജീവിതത്തെ ആകെ തന്നെ, നമ്മളുടെ സാമൂഹ്യ ജീവിതത്തെയും വ്യക്തിപരമായ ജീവിതത്തെയും വലിയ രൂപത്തിലാണ് ബാധിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളതെന്ന് നമുക്കറിയാം. ഞാൻ ഈ അവസരത്തിൽ കൂടുതൽ സമയമെടുക്കുന്നില്ല. നേരത്തെ സൂചിപ്പിക്കപ്പെട്ടതുപോലെ നീതിന്യായ മേഖലയെയും ഈ COVID-19 ആയിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുള്ള ലോക്ക്ഡൗണും മറ്റും നമ്മളെ വലിയ രൂപത്തിൽ ബാധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. പെട്ടെന്ന് മനസ്സിലേക്ക് തോന്നുന്ന പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നതാണ്. അതിൽ ആരോഗ്യപരമായിട്ടുള്ള പ്രശ്നങ്ങളുണ്ട്. സുപ്രീം കോടതി തന്നെ മാർച്ച് 23-ന് ഇനി ഓൺലൈനായുള്ള വീഡിയോ കോൺഫറൻസിങ്ങിലൂടെ മാത്രമേ നടപടികൾ ഉള്ളൂ എന്ന് പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ചിരുന്നു. ഹൈക്കോടതികളും തുല്യമായിട്ടുള്ള രൂപത്തിലായിരുന്നു പ്രവർത്തിച്ചു വന്നിരുന്നത്. കോടതികൾ ഏറ്റവും അത്യാവശ്യമുള്ള കേസുകളിലേക്ക് മാത്രം മാറുകയും ബാക്കിയുള്ളതൊക്കെ ഓൺലൈൻ മാധ്യമം വഴി, വീഡിയോ കോൺഫറൻസിങ് വഴി നടപ്പാക്കുകയൊക്കെയാണ് ഉണ്ടായത്. ഇവിടെ നമുക്ക് മുന്നിൽ ഉയർന്നു വന്നിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പ്രശ്നം ഓപ്പൺ കോർട്ട് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു സങ്കല്പത്തിന് വരുന്ന ഒരു പ്രശ്നമാണ്. ഞാനത് സൂചിപ്പിക്കുന്നു എന്ന് മാത്രം. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ വളരെ പുതിയ തരത്തിലുള്ള കേസുകൾ ഈ സമയത്ത് ഉണ്ടായി വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ലേബർ കേസുകൾ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഇൻസോൾവൻസിയുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുള്ള കേസുകൾ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ റെന്റൽ ഇഷ്യൂസുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുള്ള കേസുകൾ, ഫാമിലി ഡൊമസ്റ്റിക് വയലൻസുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുള്ള കേസുകൾ, ഇങ്ങനെ വ്യത്യസ്ത തരത്തിലുള്ള കേസുകൾ മുൻപില്ലാത്ത വിധം വർദ്ധിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സാഹചര്യം ഉണ്ടായപ്പോൾ ഇതിനെ നേരിടുന്നതിന് ആവശ്യമായ രൂപത്തിൽ നമ്മുടെ ജുഡീഷ്യറിയെ എങ്ങനെ ശക്തിപ്പെടുത്താം എന്ന പ്രശ്നം നമ്മുടെ മുമ്പിലേക്ക് ഉയർന്നു വരികയുണ്ടായി. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ കേസുകൾ മാറ്റിവെക്കപ്പെടുമ്പോൾ അത് പ്രയോറിറ്റൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നതിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചുള്ള ഇഷ്യൂസ് ഉണ്ടാവുകയുണ്ടായി. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ മേഖലയിൽ പുതിയ രൂപത്തിലുള്ള ടെക്നോളജി ഉപയോഗപ്പെടുത്താൻ ശ്രമിക്കുമ്പോൾ അതിനാവശ്യമായിട്ടുള്ള ട്രെയിനിങ് ജുഡീഷ്യൽ ഓഫീസേഴ്സിനും മറ്റുമൊക്കെ നൽകി, വക്കീലന്മാർക്ക്, അഡ്വക്കേറ്റ്സിന്, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ കക്ഷികൾക്ക്, മറ്റ് കോർട്ട് ഓഫീസേഴ്സിന് എല്ലാവർക്കും ആ രീതിയിലുള്ള ട്രെയിനിങ്ങിന്റെ ആവശ്യകത, വളരെ ഇന്റൻസീവ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ട്രെയിനിങ് പ്രോഗ്രാം നടപ്പാക്കേണ്ടതിന്റെ ആവശ്യകത ഒക്കെ ഉയർന്നു വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ ഈ സാഹചര്യത്തിൽ ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള വിവിധ തരത്തിലുള്ള വെല്ലുവിളികളെ നേരിടുമ്പോഴും എവറി ക്രൈസിസ് can also be used as an opportunity എന്നുള്ളത് കൊണ്ട് നമ്മൾ ഈ സമയം ഉപയോഗിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് കോടതികളെ ഡിജിറ്റലൈസ് ചെയ്യുകയും പേപ്പർലെസ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു രീതിയിലേക്ക് മാറാൻ വിചാരിക്കുകയും ഒക്കെ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ഉണ്ടാവുന്ന ഒരവസരം എന്നുള്ളത് ഏതോ ഒരു ലേഖനത്തിൽ സൂചിപ്പിക്കപ്പെട്ടതുപോലെ കേരളത്തിലിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു വക്കീലിന്, കേരളത്തിലിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു കക്ഷിക്ക് കേരളത്തിൽ ഇരുന്നു കൊണ്ട്, കോഴിക്കോട് ഇരുന്നു കൊണ്ട് സുപ്രീം കോടതിയിൽ കേസ് നടത്താൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒരു സാഹചര്യം ഉണ്ടായി വന്നു എന്നുള്ളത് വളരെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. എന്തായാലും മാറ്റിവെക്കപ്പെടുന്ന കേസുകൾ ഉന്നയിക്കപ്പെടുന്ന ഒരു പ്രശ്നം ജസ്റ്റിസ് ഡിലേഡ് ഈസ് ജസ്റ്റിസ് ഡിനൈഡ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ റൈറ്റ് ടു സ്പീഡി ട്രയൽ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നമ്മളുടെ ഫണ്ടമെന്റൽ റൈറ്റിന്റെ ഭാഗമായി ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 21-ൽ ഉൾക്കൊണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട് എന്ന് കോടതികൾ സൂചിപ്പിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ഗവൺമെന്റിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം ആ സ്പീഡി ട്രയൽ എൻഷുർ ചെയ്യുന്നതിന് ആവശ്യമായിട്ടുള്ള പുതിയ ഡിവൈസുകൾ രൂപപ്പെടുത്തുക എന്നുള്ളത് ഒരു കോൺസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷണൽ ഒബ്ലിഗേഷൻ തന്നെയാണ്. അത്തരത്തിലുള്ള പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളിലേക്ക് എങ്ങനെയാണ് നമുക്ക് മാറാനാവുക? ഒരുപക്ഷെ ഈ പാൻഡമിക് സിറ്റുവേഷൻ കഴിയുന്ന സാഹചര്യത്തിൽ ഇത്തരത്തിൽ ടെക്നോളജിക്കലി കൂടുതൽ അഡ്വാൻസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കോടതികൾ നമുക്ക് കൂടുതൽ ഉപയോഗപ്പെടും എന്ന് തന്നെയാണ് വിചാരിക്കേണ്ടത്. ആ മേഖലയിലേക്കുള്ള ഒരു ചർച്ച ആവാൻ വേണ്ടി ഈ വെബിനാർ മാറട്ടെ എന്ന് ആഗ്രഹിക്കുകയാണ്. തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും എല്ലാ ആശംസകളും നേരുന്നു. നന്ദി.
Thank you, Biju sir, for your valuable words. It's my privilege to welcome the PTA Vice President of our institution, Shri Faisal Aranya. Being an active organizer and a member of various events, he has proved his helpfulness and altruistic nature a number of times. Sir, your constant support and guidance mean a lot to us. May I invite you for a felicitation address.
നമസ്കാരം. ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട പ്രിൻസിപ്പൽ, മറ്റെല്ലാവരുടെയും പേരെടുത്ത് പറയാൻ ഞാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നില്ല, കാരണം എൻ്റെ സമയം വളരെ പരിമിതമാണ്. നമ്മൾ കോവിഡിന് മുമ്പും കോവിഡിന് പിമ്പും എന്നുള്ള ഒരു വിഷയം കൂടി നമ്മളിവിടെ ചർച്ചയിലേക്ക് വന്നു. വളരെ നന്നായി ഇങ്ങനൊരു കാര്യം നമ്മളിപ്പോ ചർച്ചയ്ക്ക് വന്നു. കാരണം വിവരസാങ്കേതിക വിദ്യ എല്ലാ മേഖലയിലും എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് കാണുന്ന എല്ലാ മേഖലയിലും വിവരസാങ്കേതിക വിദ്യയുടെ അതിപ്രസരം തന്നെ വന്നു. നിയമരംഗത്ത് ഇതുവരെ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു അതിപ്രസരമായിട്ട്, വിപ്രസം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞുകൂടാ, കംപ്ലീറ്റ് വന്നിട്ടില്ല എന്നുള്ളത് ഒരു വിഷമം തന്നെയാണ്. കാരണം നമ്മളെ നാട് വളരെ പുരോഗതിയിലേക്ക് ഉദിക്കുന്നവരും നമുക്കതുകൂടി നിയമവ്യവസ്ഥയിലേക്ക് കൂടി വരണമെന്നുള്ള എല്ലാവരുടെയും ആഗ്രഹമാണ്. കാരണം നമ്മൾ ഒരിക്കൽ ആ പ്രോഗ്രാമിന് അവിടെ നമ്മുടെ മലബാർ ഗോൾഡിന്റെ അഹമ്മദ് എന്ന് അദ്ദേഹം, അതിന്റെ ബോസ്, ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് അവിടെ നിന്ന് വിശദമായി സംസാരിച്ചിരുന്നു. നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിലെ നിയമവ്യവസ്ഥയിലുള്ള ഡിലേ വളരെ ഒരു 20-25 വർഷം വരെ നീണ്ടു നിൽക്കുന്ന കാര്യം അയാൾ അനുഭവത്തിലൂടെ അയാൾ അവിടെ വ്യക്തമാക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു. എന്തായാലും നമ്മുടെ ഈ കോവിഡ് കാലഘട്ടം നമുക്ക് ഒരുപാട് ഉണർത്തു തരുന്നുണ്ട്. എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ കോവിഡിന് മുമ്പ് എന്തായിരുന്നു, കോവിഡിന് പിമ്പെന്തായിരുന്നു എന്നുള്ളത്. എൻ്റെ അഭിപ്രായത്തിൽ നമ്മളിവിടെ ക്ലാസ് 5 ദിവസം ഒരാഴ്ചയിലൂടെ ക്ലാസ് നടക്കുന്നത്, അത് ഒരു ദിവസം ഓൺലൈൻ ക്ലാസ് ആയി നടത്തിയാൽ എന്താ എന്നുള്ള അഭിപ്രായം കൂടി ഞാൻ നിങ്ങളുടെ മുമ്പിൽ വെക്കുകയാണ്. കാരണം ഈ ഓൺലൈൻ ക്ലാസ്സും ഓഫ്ലൈൻ ക്ലാസ്സുമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരുപാട് വ്യത്യാസം നമ്മൾ ഈ കോവിഡിലൂടെ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റും. ഈ കോവിഡിലൂടെ മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റിയ കാര്യം എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ, ഓഫ്ലൈൻ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ഇരിക്കുന്ന വിദ്യാർത്ഥികൾ, നമുക്കറിയാം, ഇവിടെയുള്ള അധ്യാപകന്മാർക്ക് അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് അറിയാം, പല സമയത്തും ക്ലാസ് ഒഴിവാകുന്ന സമയം വരെയുണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ ഓൺലൈൻ ക്ലാസ് അതല്ല, എല്ലാവരും ശ്രദ്ധിക്കുന്ന കാര്യം. എന്തായാലും ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു പരിപാടി സംഘടിപ്പിച്ച നമ്മുടെ കോളേജ് ടീമിന്, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ടീച്ചർക്ക് എൻ്റെ നന്ദി രേഖപ്പെടുത്താൻ എൻ്റെ സമയം അതിക്രമിക്കുന്നതുകൊണ്ട് ഏതായാലും എല്ലാവർക്കും നന്ദി അറിയിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നിർത്തുന്നു. ജയ് ഹിന്ദ്.
Thank you, sir, for joining with us and blessing this occasion. Now, we request our distinguished guest, an eminent and renowned member of the legal fraternity, Shri Renjith Marar, an advocate on record of the Supreme Court. Sir, you have motivated us by setting yourself as a great example, model, and a master of the court craft. Advocate Renjith Marar is a practicing lawyer in the Supreme Court of India. He also practices in the High Court of Kerala and conducts sessions trials as well. He has appeared in numerous cases, mostly as a defense lawyer, and cases involving criminal and constitutional issues pertaining to right to life, liberty, and freedom of expression. In his words, law is a tool that could do wonders to bring in equality among citizens and quality in the life of all subjects. He says, the attempt of every person is to do his bit in the pursuit to bring about the change in the society as a whole. Today, he'll share his expert opinion and hope he would enlighten us with his command over the profession's practical arena. We eagerly all are waiting to hear you, sir. I cordially invite you for the introductory speech.
Thank you, Devraj. You have been so gracious, I say. I hope everybody from Calicut is like that. Hope I am audible as well. Just respond to me if in case I am not audible.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Respected Principal Kumaran sir, faculty members, the members of the career counseling cell, students, and the staff members of the government college, Law College, Calicut. So Sajji sir was very generous when he says that he is such a renowned lawyer, and he has been just like the mother of that movie. I cannot respond or reciprocate with such generous words at this point of time. Anyway, thank you. I say the words are too little to express the depth. Introduction was awesome, but I find there are few of my classmates who are now the members of the faculty, and they may be smiling at what they have heard being said about me. I have been a very average student when I was doing my law in the government law college at Ernakulam. I say this with responsibility and much humility, and the fact that any average student can become a better lawyer by virtue of hard work and a little bit of fortune as well. For insofar as my case is concerned, it was more of a luck rather than the hard work. You'll find why it is so. Actually, even my conversation with you would indicate that much of this has been a fortune rather than my hard work. The real task today, even when I speak to you, is to communicate to you. When we have any live session, we can have the glimpses of the responses which the audience has. I cannot today, I am just speaking to the iPad which is just in front of me and assuming that you people are interested in what I am saying. Therefore, it becomes a little difficult. But being used to this kind of conversations, due to what has happened in these days, I assume that you people are interested in what I am saying. I also hope I would be able to render justice to the invitation which has been extended to me by the GLC Calicut. We say when everything else goes wrong, we rely on the judiciary to make amends and set things right. We believe so. Also, we believe this is what was happening. Hence, we call the very function of the judicial system justice dispensation. I just recollect. There was a classic dialogue. I always quote this for some reason or the other because this quote has been interpreted, misinterpreted, and numerous stories flow from this quote. Let's kill all the lawyers. So said Dick the Butcher. Dick the Butcher, probably you may all know, you are all good readers. Calicut people I know are all voracious readers. You may know who the Dick Butcher is. He is a character from Henry VII after the Revolution. He wants to make sure that the revolts would not go on, and they want to, he says, and that's all. The first thing we should do is to kill all the lawyers so that we can grab hold of the nation and then have the power and then misrule the entire society. I say there are two ways of looking at it. One is people use it for numerous reasons. One reason why they use it because they say that the lawyers become the privileged and the wealthy and become powerful and misuse such power and misuse such wealth they have generated. And there is the other way around as well, which is they stand in the way of the violent mobs and criticism of bureaucracy and perversions of the rule of law. It is for you people to decide which category you want to fall. I assume I'm speaking to most of you, the audience are students of law and who are ambitious to be successful and celebrated lawyers. Therefore, if you want to be in the category of those who make money and then rest your life over the money you have made, you cannot be a successful lawyer. You have to be falling in the other category where you voice against the perversions in the rule of law. It may come in numerous ways, just like what our learned, or rather the respectable minister said. At a point of time when he was studying, he said there was the emergency which was imposed upon him by virtue of the then ruling party. And now we also have this COVID, which is also eclipsed most of our rights. We do not never ever had this experience. This path was not traveled at all by anybody, and therefore those rights which are there in the constitution, which has been enshrined upon us by virtue of the constitution or by virtue of the natural rights which we have, the inherent rights we have, all remains eclipsed. And you are supposed to enjoy only a partial of these rights which has been guaranteed to you. Now we will have to step up. However, I'm not going to say how we are, what are we facing is what I am supposed to deliver in the speech. So far as justice dispensation is concerned, I say lawyers have a great role to play. They are not here for a moment. Do not believe that you are here to eke a livelihood. No, you are not here to eke out a livelihood. Let me just remember a story. It has struck me at a point of time when I was a student at GLC. We were all participating in the moot colleges. We were organizing the moot competitions, etc. We had the dinner night just prior to the competition. If tomorrow is the day in which we have the competition starting, just the prior night is the dinner night, where we used to say this is a breaking the ice session, etc. And the rules were also delivered. Some judge would come, give a speech, a motivating speech. And I remember one of your alumnus only, Justice Basant, as he then was, he was speaking on that night. He just narrated a story of a boy asking few laborers. The story goes like this. The boy, few laborers are splitting stones. The boy goes to one laborer, asks him, "What are you doing, mister?" He says, the laborer is irritated. He says, "Can't you see I'm splitting the stones?" Boy goes to the next person, asks the same question. He says, he's a little more happy. He says, "I have a family to look after. I am earning my livelihood." Boy goes to the other person, the third person, asks him, "What are you doing, sir?" He says, I am splitting stones for the cathedral which we are building." Yes, we are here. We have to be the third person. We have to be the visionary. The third person is a visionary. He can see the cathedral which is not being built. He is splitting the stones for the present, but then he can see the cathedral which he is visualizing, which he wants to build. We as lawyers need to be visionaries. We will have to necessarily build the cathedral of justice. Unless we are visionaries, you are never going to be a successful lawyer. The canvas is set. You have to see the larger picture in the canvas, use all whatever the opportunities come your way, and the ultimate aim of the justice delivery system is not to earn a livelihood for yourself or to get a favorable order for your client. It is ultimately for the rendering of justice for the numerous number of people out there. Unless you have the larger vision in your canvas, you will never be able to be a lawyer who is, for that matter, successful in all the perspectives which law is supposed to behave like. Now, in the justice delivery system, as I said, lawyers have a very important role and a critical role as well. In order to build up on the gains the institution. See, we are in the 74th year, just celebrated our 74th year of the independence. The system was working even. We have inherited from the British, the colonial system. Probably you would have learned from the legal history. You have learned for the English system, the legal history of India as well, which is your topic. We have inherited from them. But then there are numerous errors our leaders have made. We may have to repair that as well. We may also have to defend these democratic institutions. Each and everyone, the profession will have to step up in his own way. those who are coming into the profession also will have to romanticize the same and evolve accordingly. I understand. No, let us be very fair to the situation now as well. I understand. I'm saying this at a point of time when, for speaking up, either your gown is ripped off or your rights are being eclipsed. Say, for instance, what has happened to Oza, the senior advocate from Ahmedabad, or Prashant Bhushan for that matter. Probably you are all aware what is happening. At least from the distorted version of the media. I'm not saying the media, the fourth estate, which is supposed to have behaved and given us the information which they ought to have. They may at least give the distorted informations, and probably you are all aware what is happening in the nation at this point of time. Whatever be the state of affairs and howsoever the weather seems to be gloomy, one can't, as a lawyer, restrain himself from being a dreamer and falling in love, in eternal love, I say, with the blindfolded lady. While being so, you cannot be for a moment a Devdas who has a miserable failed romance. You have to be like the princess of the Disney movies. You have to be like those princes who will fight till his last breath to gain the princess and get her the freedom which she is supposed to have. Unless the lady has the freedom which she is supposed to have, you as the stakeholders of the institution may not be able to survive at all. Though we idolize Lady Justice, the justice delivery system can never be idle. It is a matter of everyone's knowledge as well that justice delivery system today has either come to a standstill or it is moving at a snail's pace. Now we come to what is happening today. After the lockdown, the courts in the nation, and more particularly in the state of Kerala, has not gathered pace at all. Now, lockdown, let us forget what has happened in the lockdown. Even during the lockdown, after I practiced both in the Supreme, I am an advocate on record. Last day I went to Delhi was March 16th. On March 16th, I came back. Then we understood that the courts may be going for a lockdown. And then we had, from May, we had the vacations as well. Therefore, we were all casual at that point of time. Probably we assumed that after the vacations, the court may come back. Even after the lockdowns were lifted, the courts are not functioning. During the lockdown also, we had an issue. See, I mainly practice in the defense side as a defense lawyer. Mainly the clients of mine are either involved in the criminal cases or rather he wants to get himself out of the criminal charges being thrust upon him by the state. There was one instance, one of my clients' bail application was dismissed by the trial court. He is from Karnataka, was dismissed by the magistrate court and the sessions court as well. The charge or the FIR, the charge was have not come. The FIR says that he had committed a culpable homicide. What it says is that he met with an accident in Karnataka, and after the accident, he took the body from Karnataka and came to some place in Thrissur, left the body there, and then went back to Karnataka. The body was recovered by few persons of the locality. The death was reported, inquest was prepared, and CCTV was the footage from the CCTV was gathered. The vehicle was detected. The vehicle involved was detected, and thereafter the person was arrested. Whatever it might be, there was, if you recollect, the full bench was constituted. But just after the lockdown, the full bench was constituted. Full bench had all given blanket orders of stay. There was a committee constituted to decide on the question of parole being extended to the prisoners, the interim bails, etc. 7 years, till 7 years, you are entitled to bail. Then under trial prisoners should be released. A committee was constituted to understand whether the under trial prisoners are to be released, which all under trial prisoners have to be released. Then the securitization went on stalled. The executions went on as stalled. Supreme Courts were also giving directions one after the other. At least the interim orders were made to survive. There was a situation in which my client, I'm not here, please, for a moment, do not consider take it as if I am saying some high experience, or if it is a story, probably you people can relate to. That is why I am saying this. My client had a situation in which his contention was it is a bailable offense. The committee could not consider it bailable offense because he said it was negligence that struck the, probably you people might have, the final year students would understand what is the difference between negligence 304A and 304, which would be culpable homicide and murder by virtue of negligence. Therefore, his contention was this: he should have a case of bailable nature only and not a non-bailable offense. We had a situation, I had to talk to the registrar of the Kerala High Court, who is now the judge, elevated as a judge of the High Court. And a representation saying that our bail applications cannot be considered by the committee. Committee does not have the power. And then there were discussions in the High Court itself by which they formulated e-filing at that point of time, and we were filing cases by scanning the documents, sending it to the Gmail, not the module which has come now. And then the court started sitting in a partial manner by which they were deciding the case from there on Gmail. They formulated a policy by which the bail applications were being considered. It's not only my case, there were numerous other cases as well. Lawyers were all complaining. And then the court started sitting for considering the bail applications. My first acquaintance with the Zoom application was when this court started functioning via video conferencing in Zoom applications. The Delhi High Court went in a much better pace, or rather accelerated mode. They had these modules by which the filings could be done. They had started it for their commercial litigations, and they started sitting. They had this Google app by which Cisco app by which the hearings were being conducted. The Supreme Court formulated some other module by which by name video, by which they also started sitting for urgent matters and started considering death sentence cases, bail applications, and some other cases. I do not have to say this because which they were interested in listening to at a rather accelerated pace rather than rendering justice to the needy. In fact, they thought that is the best way to render justice to the needy. Having said so, we have numerous platforms by which the justice rendering system has developed, and the problem is this: when even that client came into claim was referred to, it was referred by a senior advocate who still was practicing in the High Court to me, because I was more, he thought I was more acquainted with the e-filing processes, etc., or rather the technological advances. And he thought I would be able to get the matter listed. Problem is this: a senior advocate who was around 70 to prefer an application in the High Court, and that he is now well equipped. The entire module has come and new cases are being filed in a day in and day out. You file bail applications in the email module. But the better, I say, he's a better lawyer than me, and the client could not get, ultimately though the client is released on bail, the client could not in the first instance get the better lawyer for himself. Therefore, you do not have the 39, I'm saying 39A, if you look at Article 39A of the Constitution, there has to be equal justice to all. Maybe this client is okay with getting access to me. Maybe there are numerous other lawyers who could not even get access to the system now prevalent in the Supreme Court or in the High Court, because the modules are not well, the practice, the procedures are not well, very well acquainted with the lawyers available. And many lawyers are not even today, many lawyers on the civil side are not preferring applications. They are deferring it for the physical hearings to start. As so far as this happened, and then what happened after at that point of time when the lockdown was affected, our High Court, we are focusing. I'm not focusing on what is happening in the other states, but so far as state of Kerala is concerned, we were going for the vacations. Vacations went on as if on partial video conference hearings. Thereafter, after the vacations were over, the physical hearings resumed, partially resumed. Now today the scene is like this. By around 1:30, every court is left with no work to do. The lawyers are not available. If the lawyers are available, the prosecutors are not available. The civil side also, lawyers do not want the matter to be heard. The physical hearings are over by around 1:30. The problem is this: the backlog is increasing. There may not be new cases coming in, but then this position or this situation was never used for the purpose of clearing of the backlogs. I would not blame any judges for this because unless the lawyers are ready, they take a risk. This is happening with the High Court. When this attitude is what is that of the lawyers of the High Court and the presiding officers of the High Court is, this would naturally flow down to the bottom level as well. It goes on to the district and sessions court, it flows to the sub-court, it flows to the municipal magistrate level as well. Therefore, what happens, every day there are only 5 cases listed. There may be few bail applications listed, few petitions listed. That's all what is happening. No trial is taking place unless otherwise there is a specific direction from the High Court. No trial is resuming. Trials, whether it can be conducted or not, is a question you will have to necessarily adjudicate upon. So for what I am saying is this: as a lawyer and as a stakeholder of the fraternity, the lawyers will have to necessarily step up and then convince the presiding officer that these are kind of cases which can be disposed of even via video conferencing. Like there are 138 matters, there are small matters like 323, 324, injunction petitions, etc., which can be conducted via video conferencing. Therefore, once you are a lawyer, you are duty bound to make sure that the system is functioning. Then there is yet another difficulty. So for example, if you while we are doing the video conferencing, the wavelength and the data and the technical glitches, these are all creating problems by which the lawyers can communicate. I say lawyers cannot be workmen. They are all artists. They are all salesmen. They are all industrialists. Lawyers will have to be a package of all these things. You create an idea, then sell it. I cannot see, when I am now speaking to you, I cannot see, I can only see the timings, I can only see myself. I cannot see the spark in the eyes of the audience. I do not know whether I am selling the idea, whether you are reaching, the idea is reaching you. I do not know. Therefore, how are we going to render justice to the client in those cases in which ultimately the persuasive effects will have to be necessarily delivered? I do not know. With this 39A, unless the lawyers see, if there is no right of being heard, then the lawyers are not necessary at all. Then there may be cases in which without the persuasive kills, you can finish off, dispose of, with argument not being delivered. You will have to first identify such kind of cases. Step your pedal up, then say that you are now duty bound to identify such kind of cases so that the backlog can be cleared off at this point of time. This is the time you will have to necessarily use it. COVID-19 cannot be an excuse not to work and draw the salary. For the lawyers, what you say, cheating the clients. It cannot be, therefore, the judges cheating the constitutions. It cannot be, therefore, the prosecutors. It cannot be an excuse at all. You will have to find time, identify those cases, finish off those matters, and or at least reach those cases to a stage from where you can start working just after the COVID-19 is what you say, or rather you find ways by which this can be done. And for that matter, the state is also a stakeholder of rendering justice. It's not, I for a moment does not assume this profession as a livelihood at all. It is ultimately for the rendering of the justice to the needy, the people. We say when everything fails, it is only then the citizen come to the courts. If that is the situation, then you will have to necessarily find out. The state is to be blamed. They are not creating the infrastructure for the courts to perform. The Chief Justice or the High Court, I say, with most respect, is not formulating the policy by which the lower courts are to function. If the lower courts and the presiding officers compel the lawyers, they will necessarily function. They cannot have a rescue. They are answerable to the institution as well as their clients. Therefore, force them to function, address their queries, make them understand what the technology is all about, train them in the technology, train also their paraphernalia, including the advocate clerks. Then make sure that the system does not get stalled for any of the excuses which you have by virtue of a bane. God, do not make it a boon for yourself. Qualify yourself, your muscles, act properly. This is what I say. Or else, at the end of the day, lapses, the entire society will have to, the mob will come, the entire men in the society will come and say, kill all the lawyers. Thank you very much.
With your valuable words and expertise, you have ignited our minds. We sincerely thank you with a lot of respect and love. We'll always be indebted to you and your expertise. Hope we'll acquaint you in our future journey. Now, we are all set to invite our key speaker, Shri Sai Sushanth, the CEO of Sushanth IT Law Associates from Hyderabad, to deal with the crux of the webinar subject. Sai Sushanth is a techno legal expert and a master in cyber law. His knowledge and winning formulas will undoubtedly be an asset to all our future endeavors. He was awarded as the Best Cyber Lawyer of the Year 2019 by India Legal. He authored 5 ebooks. Moreover, he formulated 2 Android mobile apps, namely Cyber Law for You and Startup Legal Connect, for promoting cyber law awareness. We are keen to hear from you, sir. Let us invite our key speaker to deal with the most important part of this webinar, justice dispensation and legal profession during the pandemic, a techno-legal perspective. We welcome you, sir.
Hi and good morning to all the participants of this session. And firstly, I would like to thank Government Law College and Career and Counselling Division and also CC ma'am for this wonderful opportunity. And distinguished Minister of Law, Shri A.K. Balan sir, Government Law College, Calicut, Kumaran sir, and all the other faculty, and also the law students who have been instrumental in the conduct of this webinar. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. And let us see whether we can try to explore and try bringing about some kinds of new dimensions to the legal profession and the dispensation system. I would just start off in saying that this webinar today is of something that essentially has to be done by judicial academies and people in the judiciary and various other stakeholders. But I'm extremely delighted that the Government Law College has definitely identified this particular area, which is of primary importance today during COVID-19, and specifically believe that this webinar can put up some discussions and debates among the relevant stakeholders in trying to provide some kinds of technology and legal perspectives to legal profession as also justice dispensation system. Thank you so much. So I have a presentation that is all visible to all of you who are part of this webinar. Unfortunately, due to power failure, I'm unable to switch on my video camera. Do excuse me for that. So you'll have to bear with my audio and the slides. Hope that we put up some really good initiatives. Thank you so much. Just go to the next slide, please. Yeah. So first of all, I would like to start off in saying that my proposition to this area would be talking about the technology and legal perspective, where I intend to bring two technologies that are currently very popular and have started gaining a lot of center stage attention during this period of COVID-19, artificial intelligence and blockchain. So these two are the emerging technologies that have already started to emerge in almost all business verticals and all spheres of life. And whether we like it or not, all of us are part of AI. And I can also tell you that India is now trying to demonstrate its thought leadership in AI. We have seen the National AI Portal being inaugurated by our Honorable IT Minister. So I think that's the way forward. So I think these technologies, in case applied to the legal profession and justice dispensation system, would actually bring about a tremendous change and landscape. They would redefine the landscape of legal profession and justice dispensation system. So this is my personal view, and I thought of just putting forth some areas which I thought were of immense, which had the immense potential to have these kinds of technology applications to the legal profession as also the justice dispensation system. Of course, technology brings in a variety of advantages and benefits. Apart from it, there could also be some kinds of legal challenges, but my area would be to focus mostly on the advantages and the merits of using technology. First of all, technology brings in a variety of advantages, including it reduces the cost, infrastructure cost, the delays in decisions. And the morning we heard one of the speakers talk about justice denied and justice delay and things like that. So I think in this kind of a scenario, it becomes very evident that technology will bring in huge amount of redressal in terms of reducing the delays in terms of justice dispensation system. And apart from that, it would also avoid some kinds of unwanted appeal processes, which are likely to drag on the cases for years to years, and would also reduce the burden not just on the lawyers, but also on the justice dispensation system, judiciary, and also on the judicial processes. And one of the most interesting area that I thought of sharing here is that it would also bring about a transparency in the justice dispensation system, and to a large extent contribute to reduce corruption. Though I'm sure that there could still be lacunas and gray areas, but to a large extent, I think we can have a fair and transparent system with the adaptation of technology in the justice dispensation system. Next slide, please. So like I started off saying, two technologies that I would like to introduce to you. One is artificial intelligence and other is blockchain technology. So first, let me just give you a small overview on what these technologies are so that it can make the entire session very interesting, because once we get the basics right, I think we can easily start understanding the adaptation of them in terms of legal profession as also justice dispensation system. Artificial intelligence typically runs on data. So it's typically, I can tell you that when you open Google today and when you start searching about it, there are suggestions. So how do these suggestions come in? You look at any of the platforms like Facebook, the content is also given, suggested content is also displayed. How is it happening? All because of artificial intelligence. Why? Because they are AI algorithms that are understanding and trying to tell you, hey, look, these are the kinds of content we suggest. This is the kind of things that we recommend with regard to whatever you're searching. So thereby, I can tell you that artificial intelligence is nothing but largely running on data and data sets. So the more and more data and data sets are fed in, the more and more accurate results likely to pop up. Not just that, with the introduction of two new concepts called machine learning and natural language processing, AI as a technology is tremendously seeing a landscape growth, and it's trying to come up with different paradigms and parameters. I think that's one of the key areas why almost every business today during the COVID period is trying to leverage AI for a lot of their business applications, as also for promoting their business and for business operations. So this is something about AI and blockchain. In a nutshell, I can just tell you one thing. All the participants in this webinar, let's assume each one of the participants to be a block, and we're all connected. How are we connected? Thanks to Government Law College. So let's imagine that the Government Law College is the peer-to-peer network provider who has facilitated us through this webinar. So we're all connected. in the block. So, and we're all secured. And people who are attending this particular session through Google Meet would be clear that a link has been shared with you, and passwords and user IDs also have been shared with you, and you will have to click and join the meeting. So as simple as that, there's an authentication also done. So likewise, whatever is the screen that is displayed here, each one of the participant in this webinar is clearly able to see that. I think this in short is what blockchain is. It's transparent, it's a technology which ensures that there are blocks and all the blocks are joined together and they're secured through this concept called cryptography, which makes use of cryptography, which is basically talking about keys, public keys and private keys, and also a new phenomena which is called hash. Just like we have the fingerprint and we have the different kinds of signatures in the physical world, I can tell you that blockchain leverages the concept called hash, which brings in the authentication factor. That being so, all of us are clearly able to see the screen. So therefore, one of the first characteristics of blockchain is it's transparent. Second, there's a time and date that is mentioned. So time stamping and date stamping is clear. Third, it is only available to the people in the network. Fourth, it's ensuring that in case I want to modify or I want to see, let's say that I want to modify something on the slide, I cannot do that. I will have to send one more PPT to the organizer, and then the organizer would have to play that PPT in order to make a change. So likewise, if any change has to happen on any of the data which is inserted on the block, a new block has to be added, and that block would have the date and time and would attach itself to the original block. So these are some of the characteristics that blockchain as a technology brings in. That being so, I think these two combined would also be of immense use for the legal profession as also the justice dispensation system. But in addition to this, there are also two more things that I would like to talk of. One is big data. Today, data is the new turmoil. Anywhere and anything and everything that we create today is data. And in justice dispensation system, or for that matter, any profession, data is going to hold a very, very key and fundamental aspect. So that being so, it's now considered to be one of the valuable assets, especially during this period of COVID-19. So big data is nothing but huge chunks of data. And definitely, as the legal profession demands, and also in the justice dispensation system, there would be huge volumes of data. So thereby, big data is going to populate as one of the greatest technology contributor when I talk of this particular technologies in the justice dispensation system, as also in terms of the legal profession. Why? Because they handle a lot of documents which is consisting of huge amount of data. So there's already big data that's populated. Second, Internet of Things. We have something called the IoT. That means any device that is capable of getting connected to the internet becomes an IoT device. Your mobile phone is an IoT device. Your website, which is providing you with e-filing and things like that, it's an IoT device. So IoT as a technology is also increasingly playing an important role in each of us lives, whether it's be for professional, personal, or social, or for that matter, any sphere. And I was told that the Kerala High Court has provided an option to all the parties to file their petitions through the e-filing option made available on the Kerala website, Kerala High Court website. That being so, I can always tell you that this is also nothing but Internet of Things enabled filing, because it's making use of website which typically gets connected to the internet. So with or without our knowledge, almost every lawyer in Kerala and also the other countries and other states in the country, in case they're making use of electronic filing, whether it's through email or whether it's through any other system, are by and large using Internet of Things with or without our knowledge. So artificial intelligence, of course, we are all parties to that, because we all do Google searches. We do a lot of online shopping. We order for a lot of products online. So thereby, these technologies are imbibed as part and parcel of us, specifically during this period of COVID-19. So that's a small intro that I thought of sharing with you, and then going forward. Next slide, please. So 3 areas I thought that AI could be possibly used in the considering the present justice dispensation systems are three things. One thing is commercial claims, of course, up to a certain specific amount. Number two, the mechanical processes where something is done using in a mechanical way, typically something like filing, and also in a process which tries to involve whether a particular contravention has taken place or not. So for all these mechanical processes, whether it's filing process or whether it's deciding whether a contravention has taken place or not, AI could be used. And third important aspect that I thought AI could be used is electronic evidence. So today, I think electronic evidence is far more than what it was in the horizon, because anybody and everybody today are turning out to be digital, whether it's for personal purposes or professional purposes or for social purposes. I think by and large, a lot of electronic evidence is now going to be put on the litigation aspect, as we see a big wave of legal litigation happening post-COVID-19 as also during the COVID-19 period. So I thought these three are some of the areas where artificial intelligence could be leveraged as part of the justice dispensation system. Next slide, please. So when I talk of AI in legal profession, I think we are already started to see that a lot of countries are coming up with different kinds of AI products for lawyers, law firms. And I can also proudly tell you that India has also been a thought leader in this regard. And there are a lot of AI tech startups that are coming up with, that have come up with artificial intelligence tools for lawyers to aid them in various kinds of their professional activities. And I can tell you one such example. I'm not endorsing any particular platform here, but I can tell you one such application that I recently come across is something called CaseMine, CASEMINE. What does it do? It's a very simple AI tool. The moment I feed in the facts of a particular case, let's say my case, so it's going to give me the suggestive arguments. It's going to give me what kinds of case laws are supported. And also, apart from that, it also guides me where all the case laws have been used in the earlier judgments. So that is the kind of AI tool that I was fascinated when I started looking on it. So it's ultimately running on data and data sets, like I said, and it's going to aid legal professionals to a large extent. Why? Because during this COVID-19 period, when you're just confined to your home, I think AI is going to increasingly play a very, very important role in terms of aiding you with your professional work. I think this is one such example that I thought of putting forth. Not just that, AI tools are increasingly used by lawyers and law firms for doing a variety of legal research. So in case you would like to find out some kinds of solutions for complex legal issues, I think AI tools would be one of the efficient, and they could help you to provide you results instantaneously, which is at a click of a button. So that's the kind of technology that AI brings in. And if you harness it, I think it's going to be wonderful. Next slide, please. Apart from that, I thought the pendency of cases could also be reduced to a certain extent in case we're making use of AI tools. Why? I've started to see that AI as a technology provides various different options in the legal profession as also in the justice dispensation system. There was this tool that I've come across which tries to identify certain similar matters. So in case such tools have been deployed in the justice dispensation system, it can be of immense use. Why? In case AI tools are deployed in terms of identifying similar pending matters in a respective court, I think that would help them to get all these similar matters put together, and the justice dispensational machinery can tag all of them as a batch, and then there could be quick disposal of cases, and then that could in a way reduce the pendency of cases. That's one of the common problems that all of us are actually facing. So I think in a way AI could also contribute to reduce the pendency of cases to a certain extent. Next slide, please. When I talk of AI in courts and judges and helping them with regard to their judicial work, I think it's not something that I'm talking in the horizon. AI tools have already started doing predictive analysis, and they're aiding the judges in terms of their decision-making processes. They're also undertaking writing of judgments. The other day, I've come across this AI tool which enables the judges to actually make use of these AI tools to actually start writing judgments. So I think this kind of technology can help in not just increasing the time, reducing the time, and also increasing more and more kinds of judgments. It's also going to be a contributor in providing some kinds of assistance in judicial processes. So this is one area that I thought I should share because it's going to immense use in case it's used in this kind of a manner. Next slide, please. Now, when I talk of AI being used by the judges and the justice dispensation machinery, I think AI is going to be a key contributor. Why? It can help the judges to analyze facts and then do a quick analysis of the evidence, compare it with similar cases, and also help them in writing judgments and provide some kind of input in that regard. So, of course, the judgment ultimately has to come from the legally trained mind, but I can tell you that this technology can aid in terms of reducing the work pressure, not just on lawyers, but also on judges. And within a very short time, I think a lot of work can be done by these AI systems. Next slide, please. Chatbots have become the de facto mode in the country. Why? Almost all websites and mobile applications today are increasingly making use of something called a chatbot. So what's this chatbot? So these chatbots are AI-enabled chatbots which work on a predefined question and answer model. So what do? They ask you for choices, and the moment you select a choice, based on your response, they try to evaluate the response and go further. So it's something like your IVR systems, if you're conversant with, when we ask to dial 1, 2, and select options and things like that. Today, almost all of these kinds of applications have been used by websites and mobile applications in order to enhance their customer experience and also be available to the customers 24/7. So I think these kinds of chatbots will play one of the key roles in the legal profession in terms of providing some kinds of queries on standard documents and things like that. And not just that, they could also play a very, very important role in terms of fixing the typos, which are very, very essential in terms of acting as a proofreader. And they help you in researching something, and they could also help you to automate certain tasks. For example, sending reminders and sending some kinds of emails and things like that. So I think chatbots would play a very, very important role in providing some kinds of assistance to the legal profession. Next slide, please. I'm of the opinion that chatbots, in case they are leveraged for e-filing, they could be of immense use. Why? Because a chatbot could typically be articulated or integrated in a high court or a court website, and typically they can enable filing process to be done in a quicker and simpler manner. I'll give you an example. For example, let's say I already told you it works on certain questions. So let's say that a chatbot has questions. The moment somebody is actually logging in, it will say, "Hi, welcome to this particular court and e-filing process. Now, which is the kind of petition that you would like to file?" Now, I select civil, criminal, whatever I want to file. I click on it. Then it says, "Okay, do you have these documents?" Then I click, and then I say yes. Then it will ask me to upload each of the documents. Then it will automatically analyze the response, and immediately it will say that I am getting in touch. Your request has been accepted. Your number will be allotted shortly. I think if this kind of a procedure is used in terms of chatbots, I think it's going to bring down the difficulties of physical filing as also the normal traditional way of e-filing. I think this is one of the suggestive measures that I have in place in order to ensure that filing can be done in a quick and simpler manner, because it's only going to work on certain questions. And I'm sure that a lot of us today who are acquainted with accessing websites or ordering something online would be able to really get habituated to chatbots very quickly and very easily. Next slide, please. So I was looking at a country called Estonia, and I was shocked. Why? They have come up not just with AI assistants, but they have come up with AI judges. Now, it's no longer that you're going to make your arguments before human judges, but Estonia has tried to make this small experiment a ground reality. So they came up with this small experiment where they said, okay, we're going to make use of artificial intelligence to adjudicate small claims and small disputes which are less than 7,000 euros, which is approximately 6.19 lakhs INR. So that being so, I think for this, for adjudicating these small matters, AI judges have been used. Of course, they will be asked to upload the relevant documents, and based on the documents and the arguments, the AI system would come up with an analysis, and it would come up with a verdict accordingly. Of course, you do have an option to appeal to human judges, but I think I'm of the opinion that in case of small matters, this system could bring down the pendency of cases and would aid in quick disposal of cases which do not involve huge complex issues. So I think this experiment has given us a very good key learning that AI could also be used for justice dispensation system. Next slide, please. I thought when I talk of AI in courts, I think it's one of the wonderful options. Why? AI systems have now slowly started coming up with predictive analysis, and they're doing something called predicting judgments, which involves that in case I'm able to feed some kinds of decisions and then of a particular judge or a bench, yes, I will be able to get some kinds of predictive judgments to my respective case. Not just that, even the outcomes of the claims are actually getting predicted with the help of AI technology. And more specifically, this AI uses machine learning and natural language processing for the purpose of doing that analysis. I think apart from that, this AI could also help in detecting some kinds of fraud and abuse that's happening across the courts and the applicants. Apart from that, it could be used as a parameter for analyzing the quality of litigations and also the claims, and also trying to come up with the kind of quality of citations, whether the citation is cited properly or not. So that verification can quickly be done by artificial intelligence. I think apart from that, it can aid in automating some kinds of basic reliefs. So it can aid in terms of just quickly providing some parameters to the justice dispensation machinery. And apart from that, there are lots of intelligent case management systems that AI actually has come up with. So a lot of organizations who are working on AI have done deep research, and they've come up with intelligent case management systems which make use of artificial intelligence when you talk about pleadings and documents. So they quickly try to analyze these pleadings and documents, and that can be of immense use, not just to the lawyers, but also to the justice dispensation system, as also to the courts. Next slide, please. In China, when I was just trying to understand what's the position of AI in judiciary, I was surprised to see that Henan High People's Court made use of artificial intelligence. What does it do? It started making use of AI for formulating judgments. And how do the judgments get formed or formulated? The AI program runs basically on the review of data. It analyzes the data being fed into it, and which is relating to the previous case. And by using this, they found out that the concept of coming up with judgments, written judgments, had been drastically reduced. The time has been reduced to up to 70%. So just imagine what kinds of advantages AI brings in when you talk about formulating judgments. This is also some example. This is one example of AI usage in judiciary and also the legal profession. Next slide, please. Internet courts and smart courts have started emerging in China. In December 2019, there's a smart court that was constituted in China, which consisted of AI judges. So what does it do? It registers cases online. It resolves matters through digital court hearings, and the matters specifically were pertaining to intellectual property, e-commerce, financial disputes, online conduct, loans, product liability, civil rights, property issues, and things like that. So the average disposal time for a hearing is 37 minutes. Wow, that's fabulous. And when you look at the statistics, it's clearly stating that 98% of the rulings or the judgments that have been formulated under this court were without appeal. So that leaves a high amount of confidence in terms of the AI being leveraged for justice dispensation system. And out of the average cases that have been filed in the smart courts, 80% were individuals and 20% were corporate entities. Next slide, please. This is a classic example of AI judge. When I look at this screen, Hon'ble in China has come up with something called an internet court. So what is it that you're seeing on the screen? It's not a human judge, it's the AI judge that is actually sitting in the particular chair and with a black robe representing that particular court. Let's go to the next. The online interface was created for litigants where they could make their arguments, and the judge had an on-screen avatar, as you're able to see. The AI judge prompts for a message, and then the advocates can present their case. There's a pre-trial meeting that was conducted, and the AI judge has asked this question saying that, hey, look, in case you are the defendant, do you have any objection to the judicial blockchain evidence being submitted by the plaintiff? And the human plaintiff replied, no objection. Wonderful. And the verdicts were given through this application called Chat App. Wonderful proposition. I think these countries, since they're digitally literate, I think they're far more advanced in terms of making use of technology. But I can tell you that these are just instances how AI could actually help in justice dispensation system and also in the legal profession, for that matter. Next slide. So AI could also be used in bail matters. So in the US, the US courts have slowly started to make use of AI automated sophisticated systems that help the judges to actually determine and get some precise answers regarding the queries with regard to bail applications. I think this was done using something called a case query tool. I think that being so, I think if AI could help in reducing some kinds of the time basically required for disposing bail matters, I think this could be of immense use specifically during this COVID-19 period. Because when I was interacting with a couple of lawyers who were practicing in the criminal side, some of them were actually telling us that there were challenges in terms of bail petitions. I think AI could actually be one of the aspects that they could consider in terms of analyzing the bail petitions. Next slide, please. So one case study quickly I thought of just sharing with you with regard to AI is, yes, this was a criminal case in the US called Wisconsin versus Loomis. It's in the year 2016. So what happened in this case was the court relied on something, an algorithm called Compass. So what did this algorithm do? It kind of analyzed and assessed what's the likelihood of the defendant. Is he going to commit more crimes, or what's the amount of risk that this particular criminal has? So based on this particular report coming out from an algorithm, the case was decided. So the defendant appealed to the Supreme Court, and of course the appeal was rejected. Why? Because the output of the algorithm was sufficiently able to demonstrate the level of transparency. So I think these are initial growing times. And AI could also be used as a parameter for assessing matters specifically in terms of cases and in the justice dispensation mechanism. Next slide, please. So AI, when I talk of evaluating and adjudicating evidence using AI, it's both a boon and a bane. Okay, let me tell you how. Number one, when I start making use of AI, it's going to be ruthless. So they're not going to be any kinds of human considerations whatsoever by the justice dispensation missionary in terms of evaluating evidence. So it's going to be a factual analysis, and it's not going to have any kinds of human considerations or human values. That's the advantage. But however, it is also prone to something called bias. Why? AI systems ultimately run on data and data sets. So ultimately, if I'm able to feed in more data that's actually relevant to one particular party, favoring one particular party, I think the likelihood of the analysis would be favoring one particular party. So in a way, it's also likely to be a bane because it's likely to bring in a huge amount of bias in terms of validating and also analyzing evidence. So what kinds of data sets have to be fed in? What are the standards and norms of behavior? what happens to the authenticity and veracity are going to be the legal challenges and questions that AI is likely to pose when it comes to analyzing evidence. Next slide, please. So in China, when I was looking at it, I found that AI and blockchain both were used in a particular court. So blockchain, as I told you, it runs on a typical concept of a distributed ledger. So therefore, it was used to legitimize and authenticate evidence because, like I told you, the authentication mechanism in a blockchain runs behind something called a hash. So the hash is an authenticating mechanism when you talk about blockchain. So when I'm on the block, when I create a block, I add certain evidence on the block. What happens? There's a hash function that is working on. Hash algorithm is created and a hash value is created along with the date and time. So thereby what happens when I'm trying to analyze that, the whole data is stored and collected on the blockchain. So what happens? The hash acts as a authenticating mechanism. Just like you have physical signatures, a hash value is given. I also have an image to show you about hash and things like that. But just to tell you that hash is one of the authenticating mechanisms. And the authenticity can be established using the hash value and also the transparency of the immutable nature of the blockchain. So blockchain and AI together would bring in a huge amount of efficiency in terms of justice dispensation system and also into the legal profession. Next slide, please. Now, court officers and stenographers could also now be looked at from an AI perspective. Why? All the call works that are happening in a court could now be leveraging AI, which could increasingly bring down the amount of kinds of issues that are happening with regard to the court officers. I don't mean to tell that the employment issues and things like that are going to be challenges, but however, I'm of the opinion that AI would create far more employment than the misconception that it could pull down employment. So in this kind of a situation during pandemic, I think AI can also be playing the role of a court officer. It can help in circulating the files and recording the case status information, and it can a judge can also assign an AI as a stenographer, and the AI would be able to take down dictations, case proceeding sheets, and also would aid in terms of writing judgments. I think this is one of the key areas that could help the justice dispensation machinery during this period of COVID-19. Next slide, please. Now, law clerks have also started to emerge as kind of professionals who are being appointed on a contract basis by a large number of courts. That being so, these clerks, law clerks, are mainly fed with the responsibility of assisting the judges with regard to identifying case laws, preparing notes, and also helping them with the judicial and academic work, reading case files, preparing case summaries, notes, chronological events, and then questions that are likely to arise. I think all these could be simply addressed with the help of an AI tool, as also by making use of blockchain. Why? Once you make use of a blockchain, I think since the date and time are automatically recorded in a blockchain, the chronology of events are also maintained. Not just that, the AI systems that are available today enable not just the lawyers, but also the judges to get a list of the identifiable case laws, prepare notes, and also provide them with case summaries and the questions that are likely to arise. I think all of these could be making use of AI during this pandemic period and can aid the judges and the justice dispensation system. They could reduce the time to a large extent and improve the efficiency, and could be very efficacious in order to provide some kind of justice, specifically during this pandemic period. Next slide, please. Now, AI could also have the capability to predict judgments. I was wonderstruck when I got this particular tool that I was actually looking at, which largely makes use of artificial intelligence. So when I feed in the facts of the judgments of a particular judge or of a particular bench, and then feed in the facts of my case, it is likely to predict the judgment. Wow, fantastic. The judges would be having some kind of a difficulty and challenge here, because it's likely to predict and influence them in terms of writing judgments. But however, I can tell you that ultimately the judgments are to be written by the legally trained human being, which is the justice dispensation machinery. And these tools can only aid and bring about some kind of, they can act as hand in glove in providing some kinds of assistance in terms of writing judgments. I think 99% of them were accurate. That's what one of the tools had advertised. Of course, it's in the US, not currently in India. But however, this is a wonderful tool that is likely to predict judgments. Next slide, please. When I talk of assisting the judiciary, AI is also going to play a very important role. It can review and analyze the evidence. It can process the courtroom discussions. It can assist in the justice dispensation machinery by providing some kinds of input with regard to decision making. It can help in fact finding, authenticating evidence, protecting the right to appeal and things like that. And thereby, it can also bring down frivolous litigations and also wrongful convictions. I think this kind of a technology can aid in bringing down the wrongful convictions to a certain extent. Next slide, please. So one case study quickly I want to just tell you is that AI was used as a judicial assistant in one of these case studies in Shanghai in January 2019, where this particular court called Shanghai No. 2 Intermediate People Court had made use of this AI system called 206 system for a criminal trial. What has happened in this case? The whole courtroom processes were digitized, and the evidence was recorded through video, and witness testimony also was recorded through video. And AI had the power to actually transcribe the courtroom discussions, and it was able to distinguish between the different applicants and the litigants thereof. So I think in this kind of a scenario, AI is going to play an intrinsically important role in terms of assisting the judiciary in terms of courtrooms and things like that. Next slide, please. AI can also help not just lawyers, but also the justice dispensation mechanism in terms of giving different interpretations. See, as a human being, we only have certain limited amount of thing that we could actually come across, because given the paucity of time, I think one of the very good contributor to both the legal profession and also the justice dispensation system is AI. Why? Because AI tools are now started being capable of giving different interpretations of a particular section, law, as also a particular case. Not just that, in case new laws are updated, new judgments and new latest cases have come up, I think feeding them into the AI system would be of immense use, and they could help you provide, give you certain kind of dimensions with regard to the different kinds of interpretations, with regard to very recent judgments, recent provisions, recent amendments, and things like that. So it can also be a contributor in that regard. Next slide, please. In civil matters, where you are instituting a suit, issuing summons, written statements, framing issues, and evidence. So in these areas, I thought this particular AI could be of immense use, specifically in adjudicating civil matters. Next slide, please. When I talk of criminal matters, I think the AI can be used in these particular areas. One is FIRs and filing of charge sheets, framing of charges, and also the delivery of judgment. I think these are some areas which I thought AI could be used intrinsically in terms of criminal matters, and that could actually help the criminal proceedings. Next slide, please. So AI can also, apart from aiding the justice dispensation machinery, can also be of immense use to lawyers and legal professionals. It can help in their management and aid them in doing reviews of their documents, research, aid in litigation. It can give you relevant case laws and summaries. It can give you suggestive arguments. It can analyze case laws and help you with case management. See, case management also can be done using AI. Why? Once you start feeding information relating to a case, I think the case stated information could be well put using AI. Next slide, please. So this is what I was actually talking to you about, that there could be a lot of bias, But of course, every system has pros and cons. But this is just to tell you about the challenges that AI brings on the table, specifically with regard to justice dispensation system. Next slide, please. Now, blockchain could be a one for all the court registers or maintaining, specifically relating to plea documents and things like that, because the of maintaining records could be completely put on the blockchain. And not just that, by doing so, it's not only going to help in making the system more transparent, but you could within seconds be able to come up with a date and time, which is very, very crucial in terms of maintaining records. I think the filing system could also make use of blockchain typically in order to ensure that the authenticity and transparency of the documents are maintained. So this is one suggestion that I thought the court registries could look at during this period of pandemic. Next slide, please. There are different kinds of blockchain, public blockchains, private blockchains, and a mix of both of them. But primarily, I thought of just giving you a small holistic picture on how blockchain works. So just see, you're able to see the main block, block 1 and block 2. See, all these blocks are connected. Now see, there's a hash value that is generated of the first block. And the same hash value is attached to the next block. And a new hash value is created to the next block. So thereby what is happening is the block would have two kinds of hash values. The hash value, which is the earlier block's hash value, as also the current hash value of this particular block. This can help in understanding the chronology of the events, and more specifically, I can tell you that this can build the blockchain in a way where chronology of events is maintained in a systematic and a proper manner, and according to the date and time. Next slide, please. So blockchain can also be used for evidence, for actually storing evidence and actually for evidence analysis. Why? Because it ultimately it's transparent and it's not capable of being altered. So I think in that way, the integrity of the evidence could be maintained when the evidence is created on the block and then it's put forth. Why? Because given the kind of nature that blockchain as a technology provides is that you cannot alter any contents on the block. If you want to alter, there has to be a new block that is created, and the alterations could be done thereof. And the new altered block would get itself attached and aligned with the original block. Thereby the timestamps are recorded in the original as well as in the modified. So that can be of immense possibility to remove the concept of repudiation, and it can help in inspecting the evidence, analyzing the evidence, and also in the evidence management and custody of evidence. So this can be a good technology that can help in case of legal profession and also in terms of justice dispensation mechanism. Next slide, please. So blockchain could also be used in the courtrooms. How? It can be used for storing judgments, and specifically it can give you a track on the judgments, specifically if there are post-judgment any updates or any reopening of any particular case, criminal convictions and things like that. Warrants could also make use of blockchain technology. Why? There are various stakeholders, basically like law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, and probation and parole officers. And if all these people are connected on a blockchain, I think one of the classic advantages that blockchain has is once the information is created on one particular block, it is shared across all the people in the block who are connected, who are there in that particular network. So one search warrant, if the justice dispensation missionary is able to put up that warrant on the particular block, judicial block, I think all the people in the respective chain, that means who are the respective stakeholders who are part of the judicial blockchain, could be instantaneously getting a copy of all these search warrants, and it can bring down legal issues to a large extent. Not just that, the arrest records could also be made making use of blockchain, and the complete adjudication process could be actually making use of blockchain, because it clearly enables you to record the different adjudication phases and date and time, and it's not capable of being altered or manipulated. Not just that, for land records, specifically AI can also be used, blockchain could also be used, and typically in case of property disputes, blockchain could be of immense use, because specifically when you talk about title ownership issues and things like that, blockchain could demonstrate as one of those key areas that can address the problem of property titles and issues which are talking about the ownership of a particular property. Why? Because the entire property chain, ownership chain, could be put on the block, and the respective court could actually look at the blockchain and then clearly understand if there is any manipulation or any issue that has, any alteration that has been done, and this can bring down some litigations with regard to the property titles and the ownership of land. Next slide, please. So apart from that, during this period of COVID-19, the concept of a notary is becoming very, very important. Specifically, when I want to file a couple of documents, let's say, for example, I want to file a trademark. So in order to file a trademark today, I would require that a stamp paper has to be there, and in order to file a user affidavit in trademark cases, I have to get it notarized. So if blockchain is leveraged in notary and notarization of documents, I think that can bring about a tremendously different scope altogether, since its document is verified using hash, and the ownership is also proved, basically, date and time also being given. I think this can presently address the concept of notary and notarized documents, specifically during this COVID-19 period, when a large number of people are unable to go and purchase stamp papers from the stamp vendors and also get their documents notarized. Next slide, please. It can also help in recording hearings. Shanghai, a local court, made use of blockchain technology to record all the hearings that are taking place today through audio-visual modes, and the parties used their signatures in the electronic format, and date and time was also recorded given the nature of blockchain. So this is one of the good processes that courts can make use of in order to record and have a transparent hearings of all the proceedings. Next slide, please. So the blockchain, I feel that it can also be used in the litigation area. Why? Everybody, all the parties into a dispute can be put on a blockchain, can be connected to blockchain. So let's look at the blockchain-enabled litigation process. The plaintiff can file his complaint and the facts of disputed matter, and also the damages, their claims, and things like that. Since they are filing it using blockchain, all the people who are part of the blockchain are getting a copy of this. Whether it's the other side counsel, whether it's the high court or court registries, or whether it's the justice dispensation machinery. All these people who are there on this part of this blockchain are getting a copy of this particular plaint. Apart from that, any response or any counter that the defendant would like to do with regard to this can also be done using a blockchain technology. And ultimately, this is also getting circulated among all the stakeholders. And when the judge pronounces the verdict also could be shared on the blockchain, and it becomes visible to all the people in the block. Thereby, the whole could be assessed using the information on the block, which is going to be playing a crucial role. And this is one of the technologies that can be leveraged given the present pandemic situation, because everybody can make use of blockchain, judicial blockchain, just by sitting at the comfort of their home or office for that matter. I think this also can help litigation because it's very transparent and there's no provision to manipulate or alter the information on the block, and this can also help in conjunction with AI. So that's one of the thought processes that I thought of sharing with you. Next slide, please. And when I talk of blockchain with regard to lawyers and legal professionals, it can also be of immense use. It can help you with regard to managing your clients, storing of your files and documents and record keeping, and litigation and case management, that is updates of the cases also could be updated on a block. It will chronologically tell you what's the status of a particular case. And if you want to recall any particular document or any particular information, it can help you there. And nowadays, a lot of lawyers are also started using blockchain for seeing ADR, alternate dispute resolution mechanisms, that is arbitration and matters like this. So ODR, online dispute resolution, is the new factum, and there are already a lot of blockchain enabled tools that are giving you an option to perform ODRs and arbitrations using these particular platforms. And apart from that, they could also help in handling IP-related matters, whether it's trademark or patent and things like that, patent claims, trademark claims and things like that. Those also could be making use of blockchain technology. I think this is going to immensely be benefits, not just to the courts and the judges, but also to the legal professionals. Next slide, please. So AI and blockchain put together, I thought I'll just share a quick judicial roadmap so they can help in data collection, analyzing the case data, court data, and also the data gathered from different government departments. I think data sanitization can also be done through court forms and the different stages in a case, and also along with the updated case details. Data storage can be done on blockchain, and artificial intelligence analytics can be used for actually coming up with descriptive, predictive, and cognitive actions. I think end of the day, I wish to tell you that AI and blockchain both put together would be able to solve the present crisis that we are all undergoing during this period of pandemic to a certain extent. And I think I see this as the way forward. And I think if not today, tomorrow definitely all of us would be part of this technology evolution. Next slide, please. So to conclude, I can only tell you three things. There are no magical principles or phenomenon. I can tell you that the technology can only be an aid to legal profession and justice dispensation system. It cannot replace the judiciary or lawyers completely. Like our Honorable Chief Justice of India has clearly mentioned that AI can aid judges but cannot replace judges. Use of this technology during this pandemic period would reduce time, could have more efficient and efficacious justice dispensation mechanism. It could aid in quick disposal of cases, reduce the pendency of cases to a certain extent. Of course, it's going to ultimately be the mindset of people and mindset of the litigants. Given the litigious nature of the Indian litigants, I can tell you that there are going to be loopholes, there are going to be casualties, but these are just going to be initial growing times. I think I am of the opinion that given the technology adoption, I think applying to the legal profession and justice dispensation system would be of immense use, specifically during this period of pandemic. So this is what is the key message that I wish to tell you, and I'm quite sure that there's going to be a huge wave of legal litigation post-COVID-19, and good, bad, or worst, we're all going to be sucked in by these new technologies, and it's going to be of immense importance that we're trying to promote these technologies so that it will in a way aid our profession as also the justice dispensation mechanism and judiciary to bring about quicker justice to the needy and to the people who require some kinds of relief immediately during this period of pandemic. So this is all I thought to share with you, and I believe that this webinar would act as a key catalyst and would bring about new manifestation to the legal landscape as also to the justice dispensation mechanism and also to the legal profession. Once again, thank Government Law College, Calicut for this wonderful opportunity, and as also Sisi ma'am for this opportunity, and all the participants and also the organizers for this wonderful opportunity. It's been a pleasure talking to you this afternoon. Thank you so much. I'm open to any questions.
Okay, so can I ask a question? My name is Renjith. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you so much for this wonderful session. We have gained a lot. Okay, so it was truly very informative session according to my perspective. So my question is this. In fact, I understood that I must say that I am technologically a bit weak. So I do not know whether I have understood you correctly, but if my understanding is right, that you have discussed about two technological things like artificial intelligence and blockchain technology, right? So in what form it is being used? See, if my understanding is right, artificial intelligence could be used either in the form of a robot or it should be used in the form of a computer software, right?
Yes, sir.
See, so for example, you are saying that many legal functions could be performed by using this technology, including judgments, right?
Yes, sir.
So what is the status in India? Whether we have any companies which has designed any robots in this kind of legal jobs, or do we have any companies, which comes up with softwares which could be used in these processes? Indian companies.
Yes, definitely there are Indian companies that have started to emerge. You can look at an AI tool called CaseMine, CASEMINE. So you can just look at this tool.
Okay.
So this is an artificially intelligent tool which provides you with regard to the different suggestive arguments for your cases and gives you the relevant case laws and also mentions where all these case laws have been used, in which judgments these case laws have been used, and also they can give you some kinds of understanding on the different legal subjects and what are the latest updates of cases happening in those subjects. So this is one such area that you can look at. And apart from that, they are also giving you certain things of doing some kind of legal research using this AI-based research tool. So this is one such example that I can tell you. There are lots of tools that are there, basically. One more tool is called, there are about 5 tools which have been come up with by Indian companies in this regard. So I've just explored CaseMine. There are 4 more tools. You can just get the information on Google. But primarily, CaseMine was a very interesting tool that I found.
CaseMine, CASEMIND, right?
M-I-N-E. CaseMine.
M-I-N-E, CaseMine.
Yes, CaseMine.
Okay, fine.
They have different...
Is this a commercial?
Yes, this is a commercial one.
Is this a commercial?
Yes, they have a free trial and then...
okay. Free trial.
Then you can
okay,
buy, yeah, they have a free trial for about 1 week or so, and then it works on a subscription model, basically. So the subscription is about 5,000 rupees per month.
Okay, understood. Can I ask one more? I do not know. Sissy, can I ask one more? Okay. Actually, it is not, but it is. It's relating to this blockchain technology. Okay, and it is also have some relevance to the legal system. See, blockchain, the cryptocurrency. Hello.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Sir, the cryptocurrency like bitcoins are based on this blockchain technology, right?
Yes.
So to what extent is this cryptocurrency reliable? Because our legal system has,
Basically, sir, there are 2 things, sir, here, basically. See, one, when you look at bitcoins and things like that, there are 2 aspects that we need to look at. One is called a utility token, one is called a security token when you talk of cryptocurrency. I'm not talking about bitcoins, but bitcoins are only one form of cryptocurrency. Yes. But cryptocurrency can be classified in 2 parameters. One is called utility token, other is called security token. So utility tokens are usually issued for a particular purpose. Let's say that even you and I can coin a virtual currency. And you can tell, let's say, for example, that Government Law College, Calicut has come up with one virtual currency. So it is told that all the participants of this webinar would be given a virtual currency. And using this virtual currency, you can attend any of our webinars that we are conducting in future. Okay, this is the agreement that they have with you. So this becomes a utility coin, first of all. So it does not have any monetary value in terms of the outside world. It is very specific to a particular utility. Now let's take the example of security token. Security token is almost like your shares and debentures. So just like you have the SEBI regulations that have come up, so these are also prone to those kinds of regulatory compliance. But what becomes very important here is that bitcoins can be purchased and sold through some authorized agencies, like just like you have IPOs for purchasing shares and debentures and things like that. You have something called ICOs, Indian coin exchange, coin exchanges, ICOs, where you can actually try to trade in these bitcoins and do things like that. But the basic challenge that arises is if you are purchasing cryptocurrency and selling them not in these authorized ICOs but to private players, it becomes a problematic affair. Because once it becomes of the private players who are entering into the market, you will not have any receipt, you will not have any acknowledgement, nothing. So basically, when you look at the taxation perspective, there would be questions asked by the taxman regarding how do you actually showcase the source of this income, because you don't have any acknowledgement or receipts with regard to that, and that can also attract provisions of PMLA because it amounts to money laundering, because you are unable to account for this money. So that's going to be one of the big challenges that this will put in action.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sushanth, I have put up a question. Have you seen in the chat box? Yeah. So what would be the possible expense? So if we have to implement this AI codes in India.
In India could be used for matters which are of small value. For example, we can take the same thing as 5 lakh rupees. See, for all the commercial disputes that are there, which are amounting to 5 lakh rupees or less than that, they could be used here. AI codes could be used here, first thing. And second thing that we could use here for AI codes is that which involves mere violation, but it does not involve any complex issues. So when there are no complex issues of law that are there, but it's only a mere violation, for example, traffic violations or something like that, where there's a mere violation. So for those matters, we could use it. And third, we could use it for matters which are relating to e-commerce and also intellectual property and things like that, which are happening across the online domain. Because a lot of times what happens is that e-commerce also now is brought under the ambit of consumer protection law and things like that, the latest rules. So disputes relating to intellectual property, e-commerce, and anything that is done online, like the online, whether it's online defamation or anything to do with the online space, that could also be one area where AI codes could now be stepping in India.
Yeah, I understand that. And how about the expense? What would be the expense incurred by the concerned government for implementing such things?
Madam, all it requires is a good set of coders, basically, who are able to do that. And since we already have started, typically I can tell you that Kerala government has started this wonderful concept called the Kerala Startup Mission, which is wonderfully encouraging a lot of startups. And when I tell you that these 5 tools are now being popularly used in India, specifically in AI, I can tell you that these 5 tools which are developed in the legal field are done by startups. So I think one of the good ways that the government could actually engage is that have some kind of engagement model with startups, because startups can be the good people who can come up with innovative ideas. Huge companies, of course, they have their reliabilities and things like that. But one good way to encourage the kind of adaptation is that, yes, this could be one cost-effective method that government can actually try to leverage, because lots of startups are now in the space of AI.
Okay. Thank you. And one more question, Sushanth. What about the jobs that, like, for the jobs of the clerks or the last cadre jobs? No? How far that jobs would be affected from this AI code?
Madam, one thing we have to quickly realize is that today there is not a single person without a smartphone today. So what I can tell you is that, see, these kinds of professionals who are on the lower cadre, they can also start, their roles and responsibilities could also be put in a digitized manner, where they could help or they could contribute their role in terms of doing some kinds of operations to these particular AI tools. If they're trained in that manner, that could also help them to have proper employment also along with usage of AI. I think the balance has to be struck fundamentally.
Okay, thank you. Devin, you can read out the question put up by Dija Marwa to Sushanth.
Sissy? Sorry.
Actually, AI, basically the present situation is AI and law, there are no courses as such which have been started. We did one program for the legal community called AI and Law, but I'm sure that in case the Government Law College Calicut is willing to, then we'd be more than happy to come up with an online course on artificial intelligence and law, which would probably discuss on the various legal nuances relating to artificial intelligence and law, because there are going to be a lot of legal nuances that are likely to emerge out of AI, and it could be emerging as one of the good practice area also for the young generation lawyers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Susi, I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
I am assistant professor of Government Law College.
Yeah, I think CCC can take up that. That would be a nice idea, offering a course.
Okay. And thank you for giving such an insight into this. My question is, you told that any fraudulent transaction relating to the property can be traced using blockchain. Is it when the matter comes up before the court, or when it is at the time of registration?
Madam, it can happen in both the matters, basically. Because if during the registration, if the land records are maintained using blockchain, then definitely there will not be any kinds of issues, because it's very transparent process and it's not capable of being altered. So first at the registration phase, and when the same matter is before a court, the court could also verify the blockchain registry and then take a decision accordingly. It could help. It could be, both the perspectives it could be used.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sir, I'm Amit KS, a final year student of Government Law College, Kozhikode. I have a question for you. Sir, you were speaking about implementing AI in assisting lawyers and assisting judges for delivering judgments and producing arguments, right?
Correct.
Wouldn't that set a bar on the evolution of law? Since we are seeing more judgments that are like in the interpretation of constitution or like decriminalizing adultery, and various judgments have put up altering the law over time. But when AI depends on the existing judgments and existing statutes, wouldn't that set a bar on the evolution of law?
Definitely not, because ultimately, see, whenever we are trying to do it, see, it's only ultimately going to aid in providing some kind of assistance, but it is not going to replace people, basically. Ultimately, it's the human and the humanly trained mind that is supposed to actually come up with these interpretation and things like that. The tools can only aid in giving you some direction thereof. That's what I personally believe.
Sir.
Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else is having a question? Anyone else?
Sir, may I ask one more question, sir?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, we talked about the advantages of bringing artificial intelligence in the legal system, but we know that a sword has both sharp sides. So if you think about the negative sides, even though there are more positive sides, especially in this pandemic situation, if you think about the negative sides, if more and more artificial intelligence are used, so the chances of young lawyers or the chance of new job opportunities are decreasing day by day. So what is any other solution for that?
Definitely I don't 100% agree with you. Partially I agree with you, but not completely. See, the reason being that young lawyers have got a fantastic advantage because they are the tech lawyers. They know how to operate. They know, much better than senior lawyers. They are versed with technology to a large extent. So I can tell you that in this present situation, it's only going to be how well and how quickly are you able to come up with, solution. That's what is the present corporate world looking at. So I think it will aid young lawyers rather than taking their jobs away. Because ultimately, remember one thing, that all these systems should have a disclaimer stating that, this is just a system-based advice. Please look at a lawyer for professional advice. So they're not going to ultimately take any kind of liability or account for any responsibility thereof. It's only ultimately going to be the lawyers who rely on that who would be accountable and liable.
Okay, so the final decision will depend on the judge.
Yeah, I would say that young lawyers have a fantastic advantage using the AI because they are versed with using AI much to a larger extent than the senior lawyers. Because today everybody is on Facebook, everybody is on Twitter, everybody is on the social media. So that being so, you look at anything that's deciding, and a lot of online engagement is done by today's lawyers, whether it's purchasing goods and products, booking online tickets, doing any kinds of transactions online. I think everything is done by the young generation lawyers in a far more better and efficient manner than the old lawyers. Yes. So in that way, I can tell you it's an advantage to us than the senior lawyers.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. So my name is Ashik.
Yes.
And sir, do you think that by the advent of using AI tools in legal system, the contemporary concept of Vakil office will be overthrown by utilizing this new technologies? Do you think that the contemporary way of legal system will be overthrown?
I don't think the contemporary legal system will be overthrown, but I can tell you that it could be probably receiving a transformation altogether. Basically, it's just like we are all in the stage of voyage. See, just like COVID-19, we never expected that COVID-19 is going to strike us one day. It's an unprecedented time. But however, still the courts have gone active, and despite the limitations that we have, still online proceedings are happening across various platforms like Google Meet and Zoom and other tools. But in a way, it's just received a transformation. If not today, at least tomorrow we would have to get transformed. So I don't think that AI alone can bring about, can throw away the contemporary position of the legal system today. I can tell you that it is only transforming it to the next level.
Okay. Thank you so much. We have already passed our time. Maybe we'll move on with the session. Thank you so much, Sushanth. Devin?
Hope everyone is done with the questions and doubts. Sir, we are extremely grateful for your insightful session. And as he just said, internet courts, AI judges, and on-screen avatars are not so far in the future. Let's wait for it. It was a great experience, sir. I sincerely thank you on behalf of all the attendees and wish we could interact with you again in the future. Thank you, sir. And now, to conclude, we have an amazing person. Individuals become leaders, not of their power, but of their ability to empower others. With great initiatives come great events. Our assistant professor, Sissy Joseph, one of the coordinators of Career and Counselling Cell of GLCK, has been our mentor and a source of constant support. It is her ideas and guidance relating to the subject and the resource persons which fueled us in organizing such an effective event. Madam, we wholeheartedly invite you to deliver a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Devin. Being thankful brings us a meaning to life. Today I am here to thank everyone who has cooperated and guided and made this program such a successful one. First, let me thank our Honorable Minister, A.K. Balan. Actually, when the invitation was sent to him, he was totally happy and he was really enthusiastic to take part in the institution, in the webinar of an institution of which he was an alumnus. Due to his unavoidable official formalities, he couldn't come, but he has taken his time and pain to send such a loving message to us. Thank you so much, Minister. Next is our guide and the head of the family of Government Law College, Kozhikode, our dear Kumari, sir, Professor Kumari. I thank you so much, sir. Whenever these ideas were put up, he was 100% supportive, and he has been a pillar of support all through for all the faculties and all the students. Thank you so much, Kumari, sir. Next is our Biju, sir, who is a Dean and Faculty of Law at University of Calicut and a person of immense knowledge and experience. Thank you so much, Vijay sir, for being with us and taking part in this event. Sajid sir, he acts as a guide, he acts as a friend, and whenever I come with any idea to him, sir, what would you think of such an idea? He is a person of constant support. He gives us so much of help, so much of guidance to an extent that the program comes out much more beautiful than I actually intended. Thank you so much, Sajid sir, for being such a beautiful guide. Shri Faisal, who is our PTA president, he is very cooperative on any initiation, and he has been taking part without any kind of hesitation, and he is very helpful in giving up ideas also. Thank you so much, Mr. Faisal, for your cooperation. And now the speakers. Renjith, who is my batchmate, mine and Remya's batchmate. We have known him. He said he was an average student, but even he was a good student. But after LLB, he has shined in this profession. He has set an example for everyone who plans to be a lawyer. So thank you, Renjith, so much. Thank you very much for accepting my invitations and being a part of this. Now coming to Sushanth, we cannot draw the cart without the horses. Now, Sushanth, I'm really thankful to you. When I first talked to you, I just realized the immense of knowledge he is having in this subject. Now, he is an expert, maybe he is one among the top cyber lawyers in India. And the class he has given right now is so much informative, so much technically advancing the present aspects, and he has covered almost all the aspects which is there in the cyber law area, and which is actually now promptly needed in such a pandemic situation. Thank you, Sushanth, for the so much beautiful, informative session, and we are totally grateful for the light you have put up on the subject on this particular matter. Thank you so much. Now, my dear colleagues, my dear teachers, my Sanjimas, she is my guide, my friend, my whatnot. She has been a constant support, not an active part, but throughout. Whatever time I call her, she has been with me. And all other teachers, Remya, Anita, Novel, Vidyut, everyone, all other faculty members who has been so much of support to me and who has helped us making this program a grand success. Thank you so much, my dear faculty members. Now coming to the organizing committee. Now organizing these students, to specifically name Amit, Devraj, Sugandha, Dominic, Farsan, Manu, Anjana, Niranjana, Mashood and Adib. They have all put up their so much of time. They have helped me throughout these 2-3 days from the beginning of planning of this webinar itself. They have been so much cooperative. Thank you so much, my dear students, for making this webinar a great success. And now, no webinar, nothing can be successful unless and until we have the participants. All the participants of the seminar who have taken part and who have benefited from the session. I thank you everyone who have taken part in the session, and very wholeheartedly, I thank. And we also plan, being such a beautiful session from Sushanth's classes, we also plan to put up a proposal to the government to initiate the making of these AI codes practical in our country as well. So thank you one and all for this cooperation and making this webinar a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I think I really need to specially mention and thank my friends who are members of the Legal Buffet, which is an academic initiative by the students of this very institution. Once again,
I'm really sorry. I had taken their name. Legal Buffin is the platform through which, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Devin. Legal Buffin is the platform by which we have gone live on YouTube. Thank you so much, Legal Buffin, because you have been, because it is through you only we are going public. We have the limitation of 100 in the Google Meet, but Legal Buffin has made it practical for any number of persons to view online. Thank you, Niranjana. Thank you so much. I really missed your name. Sorry. Thank you, Devin, for reminding me.
Thank you, ma'am. And once again, thank you, everyone. And hereby, we conclude this webinar.